They don't know it. This is the second time we're doing this.
First time for me.
Funny. All right, so it's your story, dude. It's just we're 3 episodes in, and we're going to talk about your story.
My origin story, yes.
Before that, what have you been up to for the last month?
Last month, let's see what we got. I did Tuner Evo Harrisburg. We debuted. No. Before that, we did New Jersey. Did I do New Jersey yet? During the last one? New Jersey, we debuted Marvin's. That's 2000.
Things hot.
Yeah.
He's doing good things over there.
Broke the internet. He's
still breaking the internet.
Yeah,
The car's still everywhere.
I think his first post is still getting likes, like 10,000 likes already.
That's what's up.
Right, so we debuted Marvin's car. We're focusing really making that the feature car at all of our events.
Doesn't hurt my feelings at all, guys. Not even a little bit. I'm the Indian crying at the end of that movie.
I mean,
just knowing the S2000 class the way it is right now.
S2000 class right now, out of nowhere, is hot. It's hot. It's competitive. I feel it was like Civics back in the day, right?
But I mean, personally, I only feel like there's a couple contenders. It's just in my head. Like, you think differently.
Well, because I've been around, I feel like there has been a lot of S2000s, right? And then now all of a sudden they're like they're everywhere now, right? So I think some of the the promoters, because there wasn't an S2000 class, they put those into Honda Other, or when they say best Honda,
it doesn't get considered.
It does get considered, but all the Civics and stuff get pulled out because there's Civic categories. So then the Hondas, the best Honda is S2000, NSX.
Right. It must be hard for you to like put a car like Marvin's in the lineup and my car in the lineup. I have an S2000 as well. There's wildly different cars.
That's part of my job, right? So like no one knows this, or maybe some people do. Like my planning for a car show starts 3 to 4 weeks out.
Right.
And that's, getting my team members to commit, and then from there registered. Once they get registered, that's when I start, okay, who do I got? Color combos, like lineups, that's when I do everything, right? So that when we do roll into the show, like
there's an organized plan, there's a plan.
Yeah.
I get it. I love that. Lots of times I just roll in.
That's you know what? Then that's what all the members do, right? They're like, they show up and then they just roll in. They don't really understand like all the back work that's involved.
But you added a very integral piece, I think, to our team, and that's adding Becker. Like Becker he could be your guy, right-hand guy. When you have a plan, you can implement the plan with Becker, like more easily than most.
Yeah, so obviously everyone's always gonna ask, how do I join this team? Or, not just Emotion, but any team. How do I join, right? And then, to me, it's not just the car, right? It's the person, right? The person's gotta fit in, personality, and, they gotta fit in with the other guys, right? Because, if that person's not comfortable,
it just makes it a
hard
event.
Hard match, hard event. We're gonna go through a whole season, 10 events, and just you don't want that awkwardness, right? You just one band, one sound, right?
Yeah, one band, one. That's a good way to put it. So,
actually, I'm not even done talking about what.
Oh, my bad. Okay,
yeah. So we've been doing that. I did a Q&A at Tuner Evo Harrisburg. Where they had me bring OG1 back out.
Right.
So I brought OG1 there.
We should add that here. I just saw parts because I was eating. I wasn't there. So we should add some of it here, and Gary will add some of it here.
Yeah, but it's funny, right? During that segment, Manny introduced me, and just some of the words he said, it was like, oh wow, like, man, I accomplished a lot. Like, this is what someone else is saying that is
outside looking in,
right? And I was just like, wow, right? So, thank you, Manny, for that, and I hope that what he says actually resonates with everyone else, right? So
I think last night being a snapshot in your personality, my personality. I mean, wildly different people, right? Kind of comes through. You being like the super likable guy, everyone loves what you do. You know what I'm saying? Like trying to keep the peace. I think that is the important part about what you do for like the team and stuff like that. That being said,
Well,
I'm not that way, but
you're not, but just like Michael Jordan had Dennis Rodman.
Right.
You know what I mean? I would say, I'm not saying I'm Michael Jordan, but I think I'm more Phil Jackson, but
fair enough.
you're definitely my Dennis Rodman. My Dennis Rodman. But we'll get to that, further on.
Right. Well, we have a whole season of that to deal with. Right.
Yeah. But I also finished my photo shoot with Pass Mag. So OG1's going into Pass Mag. Thanks to Gary.
We're both in the same issue.
Oh, you just got shot. We're in
Gary
the same
shot me
issue.
too.
Oh, wow. Hey, Gary, thank you so much for shooting both the cars. Hopefully that editorial style that you have comes out nicely in print, right? So I'm waiting for that issue to come out.
Shout out to Gary. Like, me and Harry get to spend a lot of time in front of the camera, but all the stuff that you guys are watching right now is because of Gary. Like, his time here at work, I feel bad for the guy, dude. I'll be like, hey, Gary, I need something. And he's like, and he just grabs his camera and he's running.
I mean, and he works for you. Like, and sometimes I'm like, oh, I want him to do this and this and this, and it's like, you're like, yo, like, no, he's got work to do.
Right.
Like, okay, cool. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. So
very key cog in the machine of Absolute Electronics that we're shooting here today. Absolute Electronics, the first time shooting.
Thank you for hosting us, by the way. Over here at Absolute
It's not even a hosting thing. You're at home, homeboy. Like, you're at home.
That traffic up here didn't feel like home, but
you probably wanted to go home one night.
What else do I got? Obviously, I've been trying to push the podcast, doing a lot more social media on that. And, not just you brought up Becker. There's other guys on the team that I kind of brought in.
There's a couple new guys.
Well, not just that, but there's some other guys that help out. That don't really have builds, right? But I trust them to help me out so that I'm able to do this, right?
Hank is one of your key guys, right?
Hank is one of my key guys, right? So,
shout out to Hank, good guy.
He's actually, I titled him my manager, right? So, you'll see him at shirts. We're making him a shirt that says MGR on it. So, he's basically my manager.
Right.
But he does a lot of behind the scenes work for me so that I'm able to do other things. Like, for example, Harrisburg was the first event where I was able to set a table up and actually like sell posters and like talk to people besides talking about cars, right? Like just talking about like industry.
But traditionally, you don't really talk about the cars unless it's your car,
right?
Right. I don't know why you don't do that. You know a lot about the cars, right? Like the features.
I do.
You could sell the S2000. You could sell my S2000. Like, you could sell it to whoever's there, right?
Yeah, obviously.
Maybe not the same way, but like all the ins and outs of all the cars.
Of all the cars, right? Because at the end of the day, I got the final say on who's in the team,
right,
and who's not on the team, right? So I kind of have to know what's going on, right? So, but again, that's all behind the scenes emotion stuff. Something I didn't tell you. It's hot news that just came in yesterday.
Scared now.
Lexus is getting featured on next podcast for Pass Mag.
Okay. So another emotion, Absolute Electronics build.
Yeah, I've been waiting for that. So as much as I love OG1,
Lexus needs some love.
Yeah, but bringing OG1 back out basically opened all the doors to what we're doing today, what I'm doing today. But at the same time, it's like, hey, like this Lexus was making some damage too. Until brought out the wide body version of his SC. Yeah,
you pushed to go on and do something more, so he beat you. I mean,
yeah, and I'll say this over and over again. Everyone knows that personally, like the individual awards, like they don't really mean much to me. I'm more about the team awards, right? And that's just because, as we will uncover today, my origin story, the accolades that I've accomplished, like. I've got tons of them. So to say I did it in the Honda and then backed it up with the Lexus, like I'm good. You know what I mean?
You can do it. You don't need. It wasn't a fluke.
Exactly.
There's no question. Tom Brady was the secret sauce there, right? Yeah. There's no secret. Not calling you Tom Brady because like. But you're a Tom Brady guy too, aren't you?
I play fantasy football, so Tom Brady was my guy for a little bit. Right, until he started going to these other teams, and it was just him and Gronk, right? Like you need tight end and quarterback to maximize your points. So
We'll leave that for another episode. All right. So,
But what's going on with you? You got anything? What you got?
Got a new engine bay.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Got a new engine bay.
And we'll insert a picture of that engine bay right here, right? So,
It's still work because it's, in my eyes, it's so different. And I would use the words cutting edge, right? Like I would say that it's more high tech, 3D print, metal 3D print, plastic 3D print, laser, CNC, all kinds of.
I'm gonna say like, you know, just like you did with the car audio industry. I remember when you first got the laser and you didn't really know how to use it, right? Because I was scared when it came in and you were like fidgety with the programs and stuff. Like what you did there and how you built your S2000, like it's so crazy because it's like the evolution of building a car using new technology, but old style.
I mean, parts.
Parts and processes.
Okay,
right?
so, you know, a lot of what's going on in that car is all like bespoke one-off parts, backed up by bespoke one-off parts that were produced not by me. So ARC parts that I had to source all over God's creation. Shout out to my homeboy. I'll put a link to his Instagram right here. He was very instrumental in getting me parts that I, you know, had to have to fulfill my vision. But I just like to do things kind of outside of the box. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
And I know you started it last year, and I know I pushed you
really hard to not finish.
Right. To be at these events. I wanted you to be at the events to kind of get your feet wet, let you know like what you're competing against and stuff. And you started that build last year, and people didn't get it. People were actually like, you know, what's this guy like doing, right? But now to see it finished, like, wow, right? Like when I saw it done for the first time, I was like, this is different.
You were watching it kind of progress, but it didn't make sense until you saw it in real life.
Yeah, and so it's so different that, like Marvin's build, right? Very clean. We'll call it like today's trend, right?
Right.
Yours is clean as well, but it's on the opposite end of clean, right? So that, depending on what event we go to, we always have to talk to that. Like your
judge.
car is a car that, you know, we have to talk to the judge and tell them like, hey, like this is the way this is built and stuff. Otherwise, they may or may not get it, right? So.
I'm very proud of my fabricator friends, and you know, Justin at Bad Cat, Carl at Bad Cat. They literally, unwillingly, followed me down the path, like kicking and screaming, like this is what I want. Why? I'd be like, dude, just do it. And as it started to come together, they started to get it.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh.
Yeah. I mean, you know, again, like I said, with you had a lot to do behind the scenes with some major builds.
Cars, right.
And you do the car stereos on them. And one of the things that I always give you props for is when you build it, you sit and make it flow.
Right.
You look at the entire project and you make everything flow. You're not just gonna be like, I'm just gonna do this, right? Like you actually consider everything else, right? And you know, again, that resonates in that S2000 build.
Well, I appreciate that. Let's get started. Let's get started. And like we mentioned before, this is Harry's origin story / the history of the car show. It kind of made sense to combine this episode because a lot of what we're talking about is part of my history. Not necessarily directly the same way it is for Harry, but where we started is where we started. And where we're ending, where we are right now is where we're going, right? And the future is
unwritten.
We'll probably be together too.
Yeah.
If I don't get murdered by S2000 guys, but. All right, let's start.
So, I remember when I first started, right, in my black Civic. It was a car that I got right out of high school. Back then, car shows, the only indoor car show was World of Wheels. Oh. Okay, so during this time, so remember every show that we did, and this, I think this is how I kind of met you.
You didn't meet me at World of Wheels. You met me outside in the hot sun.
Right.
You know.
Probably at one of these
early events.
So it was like there was always church events that did like domestic, and then
They just let us in to take our money.
right.
That's
Exactly.
kind of what happened.
Yeah, but I mean, this is what the church events were, right? I think this bottom picture right here is, more what we did here in the DMV. But
It progressed.
yeah, it progressed. But it was like, it was just like this: 3 rows of domestic and classics, and then maybe 1 row of import cars.
Now, talk to me real quick about what it was like in the early days competing with the domestic guys, because I mean, car show stuff is a little bit different than the race car stuff where, we could get down with those guys, as far as the car show stuff. It didn't have anything to do with speed. It had everything to do with, the look and the style, right?
Yeah. I know when I first saw it, some of these classic cars, I was like, wow, like, that's nice. I didn't really, at that time, understand how much work was involved into it. Especially restoration of classic cars.
Mm-hmm.
Like now I know, and I'm like, holy crap, right? But
It's a different level of stuff, right?
yeah, so, but all the chrome, all the polish, like that really drew my eyes, right? And then that's what you would see in the majority of that show. And then you see some of the imports. They did the wire loom, and they would change the oil cap to the billet stuff.
My eyes are rolling back in my head. I hated the loom. Obviously, what you're talking about with the bullet stuff, the STR stuff, and all that stuff, we all love.
Yeah. It was started with Honda. For me, it started with Honda Sport. Do you remember Honda Sport?
I do remember Honda Sport.
So it started with me with Honda Sport. There was a guy it's real funny because he actually gets me my sneakers now. He had a 95 Civic, a green one, and he was in the parking space next to me in high school. And one day he rolled up with Honda Sport rims. He had the Honda Sport oil cap. It was his first car that was lowered, and I was like,
what is that?
95 Civic, like lowered. It's just like, whoa, right? Funny thing is, on OG1, on the back of the mirror, I have the Honda Sport Kanji. And that's kind of a hidden tribute to him because that's what got me.
The beginning, the start,
yeah. That's what opened my eyes to it all, right? And then then you start going to these car shows, and then the bling is what really drew me into it, right? Like, wow, like what can I buy to bling out my engine bay, right? Like, how do they get it so shiny? You know what I used to do? I used to spray tire shine in my engine bay to get it glossy until the week later you're like, oh,
it's terrible.
All the dirt,
dirt,
all the dirt that's on it, right?
So that I think is an old car show trick, right? We all used to do, and this is kind of the thing. We drove these cars every day, so you would clean your car Saturday night, Sunday morning, add the tire shine, and by Friday next week you're fucked. There's just dust everywhere.
And
it's a nasty, gritty dust.
Because it's sticky.
Oil,
right? Yeah.
Not exactly my favorite.
Yeah, so that was, and then so out of high school, well, let me go back, right? So in high school, I was a tennis player. I was a damn good tennis player.
Right. Competitive, right?
Yeah. And I think that's why individually, I accomplished a lot individually on my own before I started teams.
I feel like tennis is one of those sports, right? You have to run a lot. And pushing your body to run a lot, like a soccer guy or, different than a football guy, because you don't have those 3-minute breaks between 12-second plays, right? You're going the whole time, right? You're going the whole time. And if you give up, you lose, right? That's kind of the mental toughness that you can take. This is going to sound crazy, but it's the truth. You can take that mental toughness that you acquired doing tennis and you applied it to something.
You can apply it to anything.
Yeah, you apply it to anything, right?
Yeah,
so, do you think that without tennis you wouldn't be so successful?
Well, if it wasn't tennis, I was playing basketball, right? So basketball was more of a team thing, but back then, I never played like
you played tennis.
Basketball team. It was more like intramurals, you know what I mean? And so everyone was like, oh, I want to be Jordan, right? Let me dribble between the legs, let me try to shake and bake you, Right. So it was like, hey, pass, and it's like, what's pass?
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm shooting this you
pass it to me, I'm shooting it, right?
Right.
So It's hard to say, but looking back, I think I would have done something else that, yes, I would still have the same mentality that I applied.
Right. I think it's funny. The way you and I get to that end point is way different. It's so crazy because you know how crazy I am, but it's. So let's move on to the next iteration of what we have going on.
Well, at this time,
who are these guys?
So this was my first team, right? So after high school, I went to college. Some of my high school buddies ended up at college with me, and then that's where we met the rest of the guys, because back then, like Super Street, like all the magazines started to come out. So this was my first team, Image Factor. Man, it's so dated. Remember how we talk about the Xenon kit?
Yeah, well, you have the Xenon kit. You added an Accord taillight.
You like that? It was all it's all about being custom. That was that side piece. I ran the light to it and everything, man.
Yeah, you're crazy. But Xenon kit, the Inky wheels. I didn't know you had those. This might have been right before I met you, and the Fuba, of course.
Fuba's still on there.
I know.
Fuba's still on there.
And then you're also rocking the side marker. This is kind of, again, we're gonna go back to like this thing that we talked about before, where we have a meat car, and this was essentially what you're gonna get at a meat car in that time, right?
Correct.
But,
I mean, compare it to this, right?
Yeah, compared to that. This was running around everywhere.
Like GSR wheels, like not much done. Banner, just to kind of fit in, right?
So there's a bridge between this and this. So like this guy's serious. He's got F24s on that car, right?
Yep.
How do I remember all these wheels? It's crazy. He's got F24s on that. The Cats fog lights. Cats are Pias. I'm not sure what they are. With the cutout. And this was kind of the Integra version of this. The Integra guys always had a step-up wheel, I think. They never really rocked. Not that this wasn't a good wheel, but you would never rock those now.
That was straight out of high school, man. You know what I mean? Like,
you get no money.
Yeah, I was like,
different money.
Those are 16s too, man. Like 16s heavy as hell, bro. Like, you know what I mean? And I think there were H-rated tires. Like,
you just needed tires because you weren't going fast. You want everybody to see you, right?
Yeah, but not only that, but later on we learn how to get a tire sponsor, right? So I want to shout out Dunlop, shout out Toyo tires for the other guys.
Why did you pause when you did it?
Toyo tires for the other guys. I've worked with Nitto before. I've worked with BFG before, but Falcon.
Falcon has had your back. Had all of our back.
Yeah, Falcon's had my back for the last 15 years.
So you started in high school, and college, beginning first or second year of college, and Image Factor R, kind of.
It's Image Factor. You can't read. It's Image Factor. There's no Image Factor R.
Okay, so this has been the thing that you had to deal with the whole time, right?
Oh yeah, man.
So, the reason why people like me read it like that is because your brain does a lot of things. Your brain already says Image Factor. The R being the way it is, Type R.
That's the Type R, right?
Right.
But we added a little flair to it.
Taking it to the next level, I think we kicked you guys' asses. All right, let's.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, right? Yeah, and so this is the time where I think I really got competitive, right? Because this is when we were showing and Absolute was showing, and we would see you guys at the church or at the parking lot show, whatever it was, and I was like, oh, wow. And this is when I saw Nguyen Tang's car, and I was like, man, he's got a Civic. And I was like, wow, like, I could compare it. I could have someone to compare where I want to be.
Right. I think we've covered Nguyen enough times. If you guys want to know more about Nguyen's car, it's in our last episode, car number 10.
For you.
Top 10.
Yeah.
9.
Oh, for me too.
Yeah, top 10.
Yeah, that's right. Both of us, right.
So watch the other podcast if you want to know more about that car.
And then remember, this is the extreme bumper, and then this is when they came out with projectors.
So I love that body style Accord, and I had one. I had a wagon a while ago. It wasn't my wagon, it was my girlfriend's wagon. I just wanted to build one so bad. Still might happen. They're easy to build. All right, let's go to the next slide.
So these were the parking lot shows, right? That would be held, like random parking lot, and it's like, hey, we're gonna throw a car show here on whatever day.
I remember this show. Well, I think I remember this show.
don't
This is the Magic Q in Germantown. I think. It doesn't matter. But these types of shows, you can tell where this show's being held on the backside of a business, right? Like
backside of the shopping center.
we don't
right?
really want that to do with this,
Yeah.
but like you guys can have this space back here.
Yeah.
So this is what we had to deal with a long time ago, right? Guys were setting up. Look at that display. You know, they're setting up. This is an hour of work. To the cars at the right angle,
The black carpet.
the carpet.
Right. Even the stand, those stanchions are like what? Like we had to screw them together and stuff. You know what I mean? Paint them black and put the chain on it, and sometimes the chain was too heavy. And
So this is when competitiveness started for the
everyone
industry.
I think this is when we started to separate from the domestic classic cars.
Right.
And import cars started to have their own. We weren't sharing the space anymore.
Right.
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 So.
Right.
But I mean, you can see, right? Like up here, like
It's Manny and Frankie's
the wire loom and the polish, right? Like that's the stuff that I was always like, oh wow.
Okay, so I think here's where we start seeing guys separate themselves from
This.
this, right?
Right.
You know, these cars, shaved door handles. Manny's car had shaved door handles, all four. Supercharged GSR engine. Frankie's car. Frankie was a female.
Yep.
I think these are the first guys that we saw with ground control that were taking their cars to the lowest possible ride height.
Right. Because
during the
before
show.
it was just Takiko shocks and lowering spring.
Right.
And put it in, and they had ground control, which was the first
Taking the
adjustable.
preload
And it
down.
was, yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of progression going on here and a lot of movement as far as what's going on. RP 35?
CPFs.
CPFs, okay.
And then your favorite, the Sparko.
I hate that wheel.
Sparko wheel, right? So, again, you know, that's my Civic with the red. And then the tan interior, I hated the tan interior. But then, again, that Integra again with the Wings West kit. Again, wire loom and the white to match it all up.
Right.
You know,
Right.
kind of like a callback to episode 1 when we're talking about body kits.
Body kits, right. So if you guys notice, we kind of set everything up on this podcast so that if you have a question about like where we're at, you can reference the old material to kind of see what belongs where and why and all that stuff. So like this will be in the future an episode where guys can come back to and
I think that's the way all of our stuff is.
Right.
I think even the top. So the response off the top 10 video.
right.
I think we got to revisit, right? Because insert here. I forgot. I'm so sorry.
It just goes to show you that all these cars,
What the hell is this?
dude, you don't know this car?
What I'm saying is, no. First of all, I have no idea what this car is. I know it's an Integra, but like
This was the centerfold in an
you
import
have
tuner car.
Minho Kim that could have been on your honorable mention list, but you got
could've.
these cars.
I could have, but this car is iconic. It did a lot for our industry in the day.
So, the last episode, I was bashing almost like your last string of cars, and there was
my what's called
your honorable mention,
Honorable
right?
mentions.
And I blame it on the pictures that you provided, but there was one car.
Don't have no excuse for not knowing your history, not knowing your roots.
There was one car in particular I was, and I don't usually do this, but you know, I was not favorable to it. But it was Cash Thing's wide body Honda Accord. I think I did some research afterwards. It was on the cover of Import Tuner, which we'll put right here, right? Then I was like, wait a minute, that was the car that Ada had in his honorable, and then I just put my foot in my mouth. Yeah, so I want to go ahead and apologize for everything that I said about that car.
Let's just hope he gets to see it. Let's just go hope he gets to see this part.
I blame it on your picture. Bro.
You can blame it on me if you want. If you knew your roots, you knew your history, you knew what that car was.
I knew it after
Right.
I could see it. I
Right.
knew what it was. But okay,
All right. So again, these are kind of important cars too, right? Any influence for you, these two?
the polish and the color, right? Like the chrome or the chrome plating and the color, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you can see I tried to do it, right? Again, I'm not making no money, right?
Right.
Like you got to work with what you work with.
But
right?
you did this. They're upgrades. You have new wheels. You have a new front bumper.
Yep.
You know what I mean. So you can see the car progressing.
Right.
Right. I think you at this point were like, I need to make a statement from across the parking lot. You can't make the statement from across the parking lot with a new interior, right? Like, what's that over there? You gotta fucking get the guy over there.
Well, so my thought process was, all right, Nguyen's gonna go with this clean look, but let me go with this big mouth like invader style like look. You know what I mean? The problem was I only did it on the front and not on the back, so
it didn't have.
it didn't.
There's no symmetry.
Yeah. And which again, when you look at the rest of my builds, right, like progressed, it's like, man, Nguyen was right. You should just kept it clean from the beginning.
Simple, right? But this is all the learning process, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we went from this parking lot deal to our next thing, which is racetrack. Now,
So I don't know. So you guys were VIP. So I had to wait in this line to get into the show. And you know what happened? By the time I got to the front, guess what happened?
no good.
Sold
spots.
out.
It
Sorry.
happened to you?
Oh yeah. Sold out. Sorry. You can park in the regular parking lot.
All right. So this is not. I don't know. We would roll in, and there'd be a line, and we would literally drive around the line. 10 cars. Kind of crazy. Another thing that would happen that I don't think I'll ever get used to is the lines would be this long. And we
Everywhere.
would show up and people would start peeling out of the line. They would just start leaving. It was crazy. But Harry wanted to compete. Harry stayed in the line until it was sold out.
Yeah, I tried to. Well, that's when I learned.
Get there early.
Get there early, right? Not only that, but what I want you to pay attention to here is look at the amount of cars. Look at the amount of attendees, right? Like usually when you go to car show now, there's attendees, but at the end it's the competitors. Like people were coming.
Right.
Coming and staying.
We'll talk about that next episode when we talk about, the future and some of the other stuff. We have a special guest for that. But these types of car shows for me were so much fun because there were so many cars. And what would always happen is there'd be a car there that's not with a crew or not with anybody, and it would be fucking bananas. And, I'm not talking about the...
No, I know. Rising Sun. Rising Sun is a perfect
You said you
example.
didn't like the Rising Sun.
But it was a perfect example of exactly what you said.
I like the Rising Sun.
Rising Sun was eye-catching. I'll give you that. Rising Sun was eye-catching. Just not my style,
Right.
right? But Rising Sun was eye-catching. Dragon, 3000 GT Dragon, right? That was another car.
Dragon was not... the Dragon had a display that the judges couldn't deny, right? It was a theme that, it carried from the car to the display, and it just went on.
So that's what we're going to get into, right? So, I'll save it for the indoor show because it's more for the indoor. But you know what? The one thing I don't miss about this stuff...
The heat.
The heat.
You spent Honda Day with me. It was cold.
That was nothing compared to what we used to have to do, man. Jesus.
I remember, maybe it was the show. This is the show that I think I remember you the most. When I debuted
so I'm
my
sorry.
new...
Here's more like this is like when we watch Fast and the Furious and we watch
It looks like that, right?
That's exactly like what it was.
Right.
It was crazy.
Well, you go to an event like you have here. This is a national event from back in the day, and you would just see it would be. I don't even think that they produced this many cars. I'm wondering where these cars are now. On
Facebook Marketplace.
Well, you're right. A lot of them are on Marketplace for $39.99.
But the one thing I loved about this, even though it was outdoors and it was hot, every car was worth looking at. To me.
I think that for me, as the way I built, I didn't really.
Probably because you got to see them every day.
Yeah.
Because they would pull
Yeah,
up, right?
I would have it every day. Yeah,
me.
that's true.
Where was I working at that time? I don't even know.
You were working at one of the,
I was probably at CVS.
Norris.
I was probably at CVS or something. That was before I worked for Norris.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Okay. All right. So, you know who else worked at CVS?
Gary worked at CVS. Worst job ever, right? No, the worst job ever for me was Best Buy.
You worked at Best Buy?
Yeah, hated it. Bro.
All right, so now you painted the car. This is paint. This is conversion time, right?
Yeah, paint conversion. This is when Nopi was doing their outdoor shows, teaming with. So I'm sorry. So the outdoor
Naira.
Yeah, the outdoor track shows was shared with imports, but import racing.
Right. So you would have Battle Imports, Naira,
IDRC, and NDR. That was Nopi.
NDRA,
Right? Or was that Nopi?
That's NDRA.
Yeah.
So the cool thing about Naira, and I don't know if you remember this, but Naira was really kind of like in the mix. Craig Lieberman was in charge of all the car shows.
I think RJ may have started there.
Yeah, they both. I mean, they were on the same car club team, Art in Motion. So you would sometimes see Craig Lieberman at those events.
Always a Toya booth.
Yeah, I didn't really care for the way he spoke to the crowd, but being older now and being in the game for as long as I've been in the game and understanding.
Now you can understand it, right?
I just so get it.
Yeah, we understand. We understand it. But yeah, I mean, this was, I converted the car and started to compete, started to win a lot more. I won a couple Nopi Xbox Cup, like
Xbox
cups. Like when you won, I think you had retired by then, but.
Yeah.
There was like cups.
Yeah, I have one over there.
Do you?
I have one over there.
Yeah, but I have the one that says best of show.
Okay. You want to compare big trophies?
I got tons of these too, bro.
I'll show you the one God gave me.
All right. But yeah, so this is when, when you win a circle, you get your card taken, picture of your card taken. Nopi had TV show on Speed Channel. I got interviewed with that. Obviously, by then I'm learning how to get sponsors, so Pokemomo, right, huge back in the day.
Those guys, I almost got a job there. So there's one thing about these photos that are just change for me.
My hair?
Your hair. You have hair. A lot of it. So it's kind of like the yin and yang of Harry.
Absolutely.
But, we were friends during this time, and like you said, I think this is after I was kind of like, my team kind of gave up, whatever.
They just grew up, bro. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think they,
You don't have to make excuses for them. We're still all good. You know what I mean?
I mean, they grew up. I looked up to them. I'm a student of the game, right? So, even though that's where we met, people don't know, like, we actually hung out as well, right?
It wasn't, so being competitive back then didn't mean what we did last night, right?
What you did last night,
right? It doesn't mean that. It means like, I mean, we could have a conversation which started that, like, Harry, what the fuck are you doing with that, right? Like,
it's kind of like two people that went to school together, but then they got put on two different teams.
Right.
Like, you want to win, and I want to win.
Right.
So, but after that, it's like, hey, let's, grab something to drink.
Right.
Let's talk about what happened on your side and what happened on my side, right? So
it just takes a special person to be part of in this game and be competitive without getting mad. Like, if you look at a boxer, guys that are boxing, they're not mad at each other. They just got a job to do, and they do that job and they move on, right?
I don't know, man. Some of them.
Some of them. But I mean, some guys need it,
to motivate
themselves. But for the most part, they're professionals, right? And I feel like you have made a profession out of your hobby, which is car show stuff. So we're here now, and then what happens after this?
So again, this is still
the track.
Still the track, man. Like,
there's a rising sun, right?
Like, look at it. Look at that picture, right? Like, even though that pole is there, that car stands out, right? Out of all the cars. But look at the line of people and the line of cars. Like,
it's insane.
You know what I mean? And then
I can see the Nguyen's car right there, and I'm not joking. That's his car right there.
Probably is, right? Because you guys got here early, so you guys
we got early.
The late people get back. But again, so even then, outdoors, I'm doing a display. Right. These were my set of cars, and we're still doing a display.
So, at what point in your career did you understand the importance of presenting the car away from the paint, body, and body kit? and wheels. When did you know that man in order for me to do the next level?
I think when I went to World of Wheels, and some of those displays, the domestic guys with the cars that were spinning around, I'm like, I'll never be able to do that because I got four or five cars I got to encapsulate, right? But I understood doing that and seeing which cars won, because I was the type that went there and I wanted to know who won. And when they won, I was like, oh, that guy owned that car, right? What does his car have, or whatever. And at that time, back then, when you won was when you didn't just pull up and park. Maybe you took your hood off and hit a dent on the side of the car or something like that. But everything here, I was like, hey, everything's got to be uniform, right? So even though we didn't take off our hood,
you had to open your hood because this was kind of like what you had to do. Now,
but we did it for the whole time. I could have been like, hey, after the judge is done, just
close your hood,
right? Because how many times you go to a car show now and you look at an entire team and right, it's like pop-up headlights.
So bad pop-up headlights, I get it. So would you say some of the stuff that you did back then is key to our team or other teams winning now? The presentation of all the cars, because you and I know we have some, and when I say secrets, it's not, there's no rigging. But we figured out something in the last couple of shows that like what we need to do to do certain things.
So for me, right? So even now, right? We look back, and even in our last episode, right? What was our number 2 car, right? Ron Bergenholtz. His car was always, when it's shown, was always shown like this, right? Showing off the undercarriage, right? Or whatever it was. And back then, and I still think today, judges should reward cars that go the extra mile, right? So if it comes down to 2 cars, let's just say you and I are up for best of show, right? And your car is on display, right? Like
on true display or on display?
On true display.
True display, right?
True display, right? And I just kind of rolled my car up, right?
You're parked. I'm on display.
Like you have a display, right? And let's just say point for point, like it's like, oh, they're even. Who should win, right? To me, if I'm a judge, cleanliness, right? Pop your gas cap. Let me see, right? Let me see the inner barrel of your wheel. Let me check your exhaust. Right? Now let's say both of us covered all that. Because you went the extra mile for the display, and maybe you pulled your wheel off, right? And cleaned the caliper, cleaned the brake, cleaned the lining.
Why shouldn't you?
Yeah.
Why shouldn't you?
At the end of the day, it's a competition, right? Competition, to me, presentation is a forgotten aspect of car shows.
Well, you realize that, and we've got team members like Lee who presents with Air Jacks and the wheel off with his BMW. Why do you think some of the guys are so hesitant to take the extra step? Like, with your given experience, I mean,
the crazy part is they could.
Right.
Because they got the stuff to show.
Right.
Like if you pull it off, they all got big brakes. They
Right.
all got suspension. Like, they could do it,
Right.
right? But I just think, like I said, presentation is a lost aspect of car shows, right? I think I don't know for a fact, but they may think, hey, I maxed out all this. There's no need to do it.
Right. I think the bad thing for our for people that are on the level of guys on our team, is it's so easy for them to park their cars and win, right? That there's no challenger, and I'm not saying just Team Emotion, I'm saying a lot of different cars.
Even the teams before us.
Right.
Right?
They would just come and park your car, like, I remember some shows where I didn't even wash my car, so.
I mean, as we progress, you're gonna see, like, I stopped bringing the display. Because
you guys started separating the cars from needing, like the cars were getting that much better, right? Like,
well, not just that, but we were driving to all the events. Where are you going to put all this stuff in the cars?
Well, where'd you put all that stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, you just stopped bringing it maybe because of, time or whatever's, or,
It just, well,
grew out
then,
of
so when we started to grow, I mean, this is a 4-car display.
Right.
Then when you got 8 cars, what are you going to do?
Yeah. That's
Right?
right.
This chain, you go any further,
Yeah, it's done.
it's done.
Right.
It pulls these stanchions down.
Right.
Right? So, it was just a lot of logistics where I was just like, dude, like,
I'm done with this. Right.
I'm done with it. And then the cleanup afterwards, right? And then even this black carpet, like, who's vacuuming it?
Yeah, right.
I am. You know what I mean?
Well, the funny thing about this is like, I don't know, it looks like this is one big carpet. Was it? One
Yeah,
big carpet?
no, it was
3.
it was 2 rolls, because realistically, if you lay them side by side, you could put 1 car on it.
Right, you can't see the seam.
Yeah, but you see it ends right here.
Uh-huh.
But we ran it all the way across.
Right.
Right.
This is cool. Uh-oh.
So this is
This is before and after, during a lot of stuff.
yeah. So again, we started doing body conversion. So I did my taillight conversion first. Painted the car red. As you can see, Street Fighter bumper. Still had the stock headlights with the that's the LJ's hood.
Right.
The Iceman hood.
Those aren't stock headlights. Those
Sorry.
are eagle eyes.
Yeah. Stock-ish headlights. I'm sorry, man. Not
you
OEM.
know what those are worth now?
Yeah,
it's insane.
crazy.
Yeah, it's
and I probably had like 5 pairs because I was like, do I want the blue,
Or
the
the-
blue tint,
the
or
yellow
the yellow?
tint, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, Even the corner lights, right? Do I want Euro clear, regular clear, or do I want the amber, right?
Well, they still make those. They probably made more corner lights for these cars than they have these cars.
This is before I figured out that the super turn signal goes in here.
Oh, yeah?
Later on, I put the super turn signal in there, and then I left this without a light.
Yeah.
But these were the first 2 trophies I won. Battle of the Imports. So actually, this picture actually predates my Nopi stuff, right? Because, I was always losing to Nguyen. And so when I took this picture, it was like, I finally got over the hump. You know what I mean? And this was the show that I won 2. Like, some
Right.
people are like, I only got 1 trophy. Like, I got 2 at this,
So,
and 2 big ones.
I miss the stacking, bro. The stacking was like,
Then again, back then there's way more competitors, so I get it. But
the whole, I was talking to Becker earlier today, and the whole thing with stacking to me is they didn't want you to stack because they didn't want to disappoint. They don't, I don't think, want you to stack because they want to disappoint other competitors. And it's kind of silly because, like,
if you're the best car, then you should stack. Yeah,
right,
you should
And-
see that guy walk up
over and over again.
6 times.
Yeah, and hate him like they hate me.
Yeah.
Right? So,
But I mean, you look at it, it's stock motor too, right? And this is when I was like, oh, I don't need a motor swap to win, and I just proved it here with my Tenzo R.
so let me ask you this: do you think?
I still have those trophies, by the way.
Those are probably the most important ones to you.
Yeah, that's like,
First,
we talk about my origin, right? So it's like, for me, like beating the win was, there's always that one guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
For Kobe, it was Jordan, right? For me, it was no win, right? Like, he's my benchmark, and it's like eventually I want to be able to beat him. Actually, this was in North Carolina, so I had to go out of the district to see how I would stack, how I could win.
right? So you knew at this point that he was a problem. I mean, you knew that, but
I already knew, but I knew that now I can compete.
Right.
Now that I did this,
Right.
now I can try and come back and
Do
try
something.
to beat him, right?
Right.
And the sad part is when I came back, he still beat me, right? And that's
But I mean, it was a progression. Like
Yeah.
nothing happens without a reason.
right.
You know what I mean?
But then after that, that's when I did the headlight conversion, motor swap, and then finished the taillight conversion. And then
So looking back, let's say this car, instead of doing the motor swap, would you have gone the full polish route? Like if you could have,
no, absolutely not.
really, you would rather have a swap than the killing time engine bay.
Yeah, at this time, with all the cars that were coming out, you had to have a swap.
Right, yeah.
It's like keeping up with the Joneses, right?
Right.
Like, you had to have a swap. right? At this point, it was, do I want a B motor or do I want an H motor?
Right.
Right? So that's what I was juggling in my head. And then even after you do that, do you want turbo or do you want to stay NA?
Right.
And actually, the car was automatic. And guess who didn't know how to drive stick?
Well, I guess you do now because it has a stick in it.
Right. So basically, when we did the B motor, that's how I learned how to drive stick.
Right.
Right. So, yeah, that was a whole crazy. But I still remember this picture. I actually have this picture in my garage because because it was a sense of accomplishment. Like, man, I fought this long,
right,
and I got here.
How long do you think that was? 2 or 3 years in, or more?
I mean, I'll just say, it felt like forever. I'll just tell you that much. It felt like forever.
So,
but it was probably like 3 or 4 years.
So what's funny is like, we were talking, maybe it was not last night, the night before, and I didn't realize that you weren't. I thought you were like nipping at Nguyen's heels the entire time, and it was not that way.
No, when the car was black, like, I'd be happy with 3rd place, man. You know what I mean? Go to the church show and take something, right?
The church shows actually did a good job of judging these cars.
And incorporating us and making sure that we were part of it instead of,
I feel like little shows like that now are so biased. Like we couldn't go there and get a fair shake against some other stuff.
I mean, I wouldn't even go. You know what I mean? Like,
I know. I'm just saying that's how far
it's come.
Things have come from that parking lot thing to where we are now.
Yeah.
All right. So it's Nguyen and Dustin and the Toyota.
And so this is the
next Jim Stovey.
So this would be a similar to this is track show.
Yeah.
But Toyo tires was everywhere. If they didn't have this tent, they had the rig. And it was always like, again, you see how Nguyen would take his hood off to display. He understood the same thing that I understood, which is, hey, you got to open it up and let them see it. Not only that, but present the car, right? But that Toyo Tires truck was everywhere, and if you was anybody, you wanted to be either parked near that truck or parked in that booth.
One of these days, I'll find a picture of like the Integra. It was the Integra on the lift gate.
I remember that. That. Yeah, I remember that.
I mean, it was like absolute. No, it was Englishtown.
It was Englishtown.
It was like absolute
domination.
No, it was like that was our booth. That was our booth.
Yeah.
Look. Those aren't what I want. Oh. I found some though today. I'm probably gonna get it. An 18 in gold with pod slip. Here we go.
Next we have, I don't know if you ever went, but the Carlisle Fairgrounds, right? On the East Coast.
It's a big show.
I considered so after I started winning individually, right? And I was like, all right, I finally beat Nguyen. What's next for me? I want to compete at Carlisle, right? Because Carlisle was like one of the bigger stops, right? Yeah. So I want to be known as one of the best. So you got to go to these big shows, right? For me, winning a trophy at Battle of Imports was important. I got that. Winning a Nopi trophy, I got that. Winning Honda Port Nights, I would eventually get that later.
Right.
Carlisle, I got eventually. Battle, and then Import Show Off. Import Show Off came to the East like 2 or 3 times, and I actually placed at each one of those shows. Yeah. So for me, I was like, oh man, in tennis, Wimbledon, U.S. Open, Australian Open, French Open, it's called the Grand Slam.
Right. You gotta get all of them.
I wanted the Grand Slam, right? I wanted to say, hey, I got them all, right? So I took me a while, but I eventually got them all. Right. And then after that, it was like, what's next? Right? Like, what's the next goal? What's the next goal? What's the next goal? Right? So that's what was always pushing me. But Carlisle was a different type of show. It was outdoors. It's a field of just cars. It's like a wave of cars. Right? And like they could do it where they said, all right, even though you come in the crew, we want all the Integras over here. We want all the Civics over here. We want all the Preludes over.
They made it easier for the judges to judge. Right.
Well, no, this is the crazy part. This show, you park wherever you want.
Right.
There's a tent that when you're ready, you drive your car up.
Oh, drive through judging.
And there's 3 judges that judge your car, and then next. You know what I mean?
It's crazy.
So, but just to show the impact of, again, the amount of people, like this is when the industry's booming, right? Like it's just crazy. Cars on cars on cars on cars.
Right. It's funny. We just don't have as many cars now as we did back then.
Yeah.
It's just
I mean,
crazy.
even not even just show cars, but I remember
Spectators.
I remember driving on the Pike, and you couldn't go to a stoplight without 3 or 4 other import cars.
Six, right.
Yeah. Right. But now it's like, where are all the cars at?
Right.
Like,
This is cool. I remember seeing this. That's Jeff, right?
yeah.
I remember seeing this, and I was like, "This motherfucker."
It's me.
I was very.
That's
I
me.
was very kind of like.
So what is this, right? So
Happy.
let me explain to you what this is, right? I redid the car. I'm touring. I'm getting these sponsors now. Look at this, one of the first emotion stickers. We put it on the fender, like small, right? And I didn't get sponsored by Toyo. So what did I do? I took the same letter I wrote to Toyo
Give it to someone else.
and I sent it to everyone else.
Right.
And Dunlop was the first to get back to me.
Right.
And I think that may have been one of the greatest breaks of my life, because it got to the point where they're like, you have a crew of cars like this? Yeah. We're gonna give you free tires for all of them.
Right.
And it was like, tires on tires on tires, man.
Right.
You know what I mean?
They didn't care.
They didn't care. And then eventually,
They went to drift.
I think they said they went to F1, and that's, Dunlop used to sponsor Honda Pro Nights, which we haven't even gotten to that portion yet, but they used to have a booth inside Honda Pro Nights. But that was crazy. But this was an ad that they shot. They wanted to shoot an ad, and they actually shot my car and one of my teammates' car. My teammate had a white WRX with CE2010s. So his car actually had the same setup, and then they did my car second. They never ran his car.
Well, that's because the white would not work.
Yeah.
White doesn't work in print ads that are black and white.
Yeah, but this was my first experience with like professional photo shoots.
Right.
And I was like, whoa, right? But Evolution, which was, back then there's import stores.
Everywhere.
Like their vape shops, right?
Right.
Like they were everywhere.
That's like the best analogy.
No, it went import shops, right? Then it went ice cream shops, or Froyo,
Yeah.
and then it went vape shops.
Right.
Right? And then now sneaker shops. Sneaker shop everywhere.
Sneaker.
Like secondhand sneaker shop.
Yeah.
So
this is weird, by the way.
But they shot my car, and they ran it for the ad. Evolution, so that's Jeff Shee and his head tech. I think his name was Reggie.
I don't know
remember his name.
I've never met him. I remember Jeff.
Yeah, but
Jeff is a very distinct human being.
So this is the back of their shop over there in Chantilly, and the car was there all day, and they did, they set up all the lights and stuff. So actually, I think I have right here.
Oh,
that's
that's
the
nice.
behind the scene photos
That's kind of cool.
of that, right? But you know what the funny thing is? So this ad actually ran in every single
For every
magazine
right.
for like 5 months, and it was triple fold, so it would,
Yeah, you can see here. Yeah.
it would come out triple fold. So I was like,
I think it's really cool. It's,
Yeah.
it's really cool. You know what I mean?
so I never got cover, but I could say I had to pull out. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So
Yeah, but I mean, you got more circulation because you were in every magazine, right? Unless
Yeah.
the only way you can get more attention than this would be in Andy's Autosport. They'd be one of the cars in Andy Autosport.
that's true in the ad, because the ad was in every
Every
magazine,
magazine,
too.
right?
But here's the crazy thing. So Jeff has a turbo right here. Mm-hmm. Guess what's right here?
Headers.
Headers.
Well, he was getting ready to take the headers out to put the turbo in.
Where's
There you go.
the manifold?
That's what it is.
But anyways,
The manifold's over there. He's sitting on the engine block too, so it looks like.
But anyways, like this, to me, when I got this, when it finally came out, I was like, I think I'm done. You know what I mean? Like I was like,
What else can I do?
yeah, what else can I do, right? So then we go to indoor car shows.
Kind of my favorite, kind of not my favorite because you are fucking stuck.
I always liked it because you know what? All the years that I spent out in the heat, now I get air conditioning.
Right, the whole day.
I get air conditioning, right? I loved it. And you could see like the amount of cars is still the same, right? And it was filled up. And then it wasn't until Hot and Poor Nights, right, came in, and it was like nightclub. You got the model lounge. And it was crazy too, because I think what made the model lounge so successful was magazines, because those girls would be on the magazines, and now you can meet them in real life. You know what I mean? So, I bet you they made tons of money signing posters.
Lots and lots of money. Yeah. A lot of young testosterone-filled boys. Kind of a perfect mix, cars and women at that time for our industry.
But you think about it. Again, we talk about progression. We go from church parking lots shared with domestics to now filling a stadium or a convention center,
right?
Full of imports,
right?
Full of imports, and again, the one thing I used to love, right? I wish Hot and Poor Nights was half lit.
I kind of like the format. I kind of like Hot and Poor Nights because I think it's more the party, more the vibe of the party.
Absolutely. I mean, well, so back then, I want to say car shows now are more family friendly.
Absolutely.
Right?
Unless they give me a microphone, which is stupid, but whatever.
But back then, this was like, there's a car show in town. Like, we're going there instead of the club.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what it was, partying without the alcohol, basically.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it was packed.
There'd be a lot of people there, and I've met some pretty good people from those car shows. I mean, and it kind of crossed for me because some of the people that I've had other media things, right, where I had guys that are in the industry, and I talk about builds that I saw, and they did them.
Yeah.
They were at Hot and Poor Nights.
What I love about indoor car shows, or early indoor car shows, was that it felt like Disneyland, right? You get to come in the door, and each car
was a different ride.
Yeah. Right? Like,
yeah. Like some you liked, some you didn't.
Yeah, but I mean, again, it was something to look at. Like, each car was like, oh wow, like every car, like I feel like everyone was modifying at that point, right? Like,
it was
great. It was great.
Unbelievable how much was going on.
It was
2005-ish, 2008.
Yeah. I think after this, it was like, I want to win indoor car shows. And you know what I think it is for me, man? I think it's the feeling of being on stage. I think that's why I still do it. You know what I mean? Like, going up there at the end of the show,
right.
Like, that feeling is like only a select few.
Right, but I mean, I think there's some of us that just, yeah.
It's because you guys never won anything, but it's whatever. I'm just kidding. This was some car show I did, and I was in the Washington Post.
Right.
So, damn, I still had hair. But yeah, I mean, again, we talk about winning,
right.
Being on stage,
right.
And let's look aside the trophies, man. So, real quick, let's.
No, we can start with like the babies. Like, you would get something like this.
This is like at the high school parking lot,
right.
Church trophy.
Right.
Right. This would probably be the parking lot trophy, right?
Some church, like a higher level church trophy. Right?
Yeah, higher level church trophy, right? So that's probably where we're at. No, we're past that, right? So
you're probably more like this. This is
no. We're
this is like the size of what they got right there.
We're here. Like, check this out.
Okay. Guys, the amount of dust and debris on these things.
So this right here is what, like 2.5, maybe 3? This is a 5th place trophy. This is a 5th place trophy, man.
This is where I would love to see us come back to. You know what I mean? Like, putting this or what we have now.
No, this is what we get now, right?
This is even
cool.
nicer because the base is nice, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's cool. Don't get me wrong.
But, it's not it doesn't show the same, right?
Yeah,
it's not the same conversational point that you get.
Right. So let's get this, man. Spider webs galore, and then this, right? Like, to me, as a kid, I'm watching Karate Kid. I'm watching.
Yeah, they got that.
I'm watching Rocky, right? And they win the tournament, and they're like, whoever gets a belt,
Right.
right? Rocky got a belt, but Daniel LaRusso
Got a trophy.
He gets. I can't even. I want to mess the.
Right.
But he gets this. You know what I mean? Like, he gets this big thing, right?
Right.
Which similar to that, right?
Right.
So that feeling was great.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. And then when you sit at home and you recap your year and you're like,
Right.
6-foot trophies, man. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It gives you a different feeling about what you've done, right?
Actually, I even skipped something probably.
What'd you skip?
This right here, because they started doing cups, right? Like, this is nice. Like, even now, if I got one of these,
You'd be happy.
I mean, take this off, right? Just give me the cup.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I'll be happy with this. Like,
Right.
So like, this is almost like tennis, like the French Open, right? Like,
Right. I mean, that's a very
what I mean?
noble looking trophy. It's really cool.
Yeah, first place, Honda.
Yep. All right.
But you're on stage. I think I like that. I like that feeling. Actually, that's Andy Goodman right up there. He was the president of the NCCA, which was a judging points-based system.
Like my IASCA stuff.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
So we would do a year of shows, and if those shows were NCCA sanctioned,
They tally up.
they tally up, and then you get points, like kind of like a points chase, right? So I think that was very competitive. The one thing I actually do, looking back, car shows took me to places that I had no business being.
What do you mean?
Like, I drove to Montreal. I drove to Montreal, right? I have no business being in Montreal.
Sure you did. I mean,
right?
you had a car show there. You went.
Yeah, but I mean, Cleveland. I went to Cleveland, Chicago, Boston, New York many times, different spots in New Jersey, like even far south as Fayetteville, North Carolina. It just took Pittsburgh. Like, I got no business being in Pittsburgh, right? Like, it took me there. Like, I've been places that I would never have
gone.
Never have gone. So,
Right. I think it's cool. You get to see the country.
this is
Minho,
right? So, this is kind of like when indoor shows. I think this was 3 of us, and how many trophies do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 6.
Right.
Right. Young Jason Pham. Who would have known that he would have
Blow up. Yeah.
been the guy that he was, right? So, again, I'm still rocking my Image Factor stuff. We don't have crew gear, right? But Minho, myself, Jason Pham. So
I love Minho. Shout out to that guy. Hopefully we can get this guy to build again, man.
and this was the peak, man, right? Like, I think I was riding high at this point. It might have been all the NOS drinks I had that day, but
Probably.
3 6-foot trophies, man. Like, me and Andy Bowie there, started.
We love Andy Bowie, don't we?
He's like a brother. He was like an older brother to me, man. And that was an accomplishment, man.
You're so nice. I hate Andy Bowie.
I mean, not just like people hate you, man. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. Like,
Oh, good.
But you know what the thing is between you guys are very similar because you guys don't care. You don't care who likes
Right.
you and who doesn't.
And I think that's probably the beauty between like the reason why he didn't like me either. You know what I mean? So it was.
I don't know that we don't know that for a fact, but
But it didn't mean that he didn't care. He didn't care if I liked him, right? Like,
yeah,
there's
Same
respect
thing.
to that. There's respect to that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So,
But again, this was crazy time for me, man, because I was just like, right when you thought that there was nothing else to accomplish,
you got more.
you got more.
Right,
Like,
you got more.
there's more. There's so more to do, right?
Right.
And even right here, I was just like, I think after this event, I was talking to Andy. I was like, man, like, individually, I've done everything. Like, as a team, as emotion, we've done everything. Like, what else?
But this is still early in emotion. Like, this is still
early,
like the
yes.
first couple years.
Yeah,
Right?
this is so crazy, right? So, I mean, again, like, we end up picking up guys all up and down the East Coast, and now we're going to different city. Like, it was like a boy band, right?
Right.
Like, We're going to this city. We're going to that city. Or we're just
So wait,
burning.
I'm gonna look at this right here, and we got Viet.
Yep.
Viet.
Right. Early Alex Wicken.
Alex Wicken.
Lee. Chris Rios.
Chris Rios. Yeah.
Yeah.
Chris Rios. Who's this guy?
That's Tony.
Tony. I don't know Tony. I don't know this guy either.
These are all. He's got a Skyline out in New Hampshire. He had a Acura RSX, who someone bought it from. Actually, we had one member, BK, in North Carolina. He bought BK's car, put all his Acura parts into BK's car, and BK's car was winning already.
Right.
It was green.
Just made it even worse.
Yeah, and then he painted it teal, and and then someone bought that car, and that car is actually back out on the scene this year.
That's kind of cool
Yeah.
to see these cars come back around.
Yeah. So that's early Alex. This used to be our sticker guy.
Isn't that what's his name's brother?
No.
Okay.
No. This is Rick. His name's Rick. First BMW on Team Emotion. It was super crazy. It was wild. It didn't last long because it got in a tow accident.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, that sucks. And then Mark. He's Mark and Kit, right? So these guys were from Boston. This actually might be
Mark is still around, man, causing trouble.
And then Glosser was one of our biggest sponsors, right? Like you guys at McGuire's. So I always was like, I want what they didn't have. Like I don't want the same thing that other teams have.
It requires still business and Glossers.
Hey, it is what it is. But again, here's early emotion, right? Actually, there it is, man. The starting five. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
It's Tommy.
Yep.
Tommy's
Tommy,
car.
Minho, Youngmin, Jason Pham, obviously Andy was there, myself, and David Chu.
Right.
You can see
this is so early. It was still really early, and you guys are starting to do things.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't even have gear. We don't have merch then, man.
Right.
You know what I mean? At least we had merch here. And then, again, we're just like winning, right? We're just winning. Even more, right?
Getting worse.
North Carolina.
Just getting, look at it progressively worse it's getting. Like,
Yeah.
people
Look at all this.
Here's Jobo.
Yeah.
Man.
This is still early too because we don't have merch yet. Again, and then like I said, individually, right? Like that feeling of being on stage, like it's like no other, right? So this is young me on stage, and then this is probably like an older version of me on stage as well. So
Yeah.
like I said, man, like these 6-foot trophies, like I would love to see,
Those come back.
I'm not saying like every show got to do it. I'm not saying every trophy got to be 6 foot, but damn, like, I believe, the thousands of dollars we put in our cars, like, come on, man. How much does that cost? $20, $30? Like,
Right. Well, what's interesting is like, what did that trophy cost and what did the entry cost? Because the entry sometimes will.
what's different?
Yeah.
Way different now.
Yeah.
I think it was like $30-$40 when we were
Now
doing
it's
it.
double.
Now it's like 75, 80.
Right.
I think one show we did was like 125. I was like, what? I was like,
Show? I don't remember that. Maybe I skipped that one.
So again, I talk about car shows, right? And I'm like, man, like what do I want back, right? I want them. So here's the Xbox Cups, right? 1, 2, 3. I think there's a third one back here, right? And then here's the Carlisle, and then here's what we're getting now, right? This is even a Carlisle trophy here. That was cool. The diamond.
Yeah. This is like a corporate award looking thing.
Yeah, it was called Top Flight, right?
Right.
Because that's where like the higher
leader cars.
leader cars went, right? So
More elite cars.
yeah, so I have all those, but this is what I want back, man. I want this.
You wanna have a trophy so big
Not so big that
you can't have a place to put it.
look at this is all stuff. Look, you can see how my Civic Pack's in here,
Right.
and I wrap everything around it, right? But I mean, even when the plaques came out, I was like, right?
So it depends. I have some pretty cool plaques from car shows. But
Yeah, I mean, some of the plaques, some cool plaques are cool, right? But like regular plaques, I'd rather have this, something to show for it.
Right. So, moving on. Trophies. trophies.
Yep.
That's it.
That's all I got for that, right?
So this is all the past.
Right.
Let's move to where we're going right now. What's going on right now? So you did a couple interviews. You did a few interviews we're gonna watch right now.
Yeah.
And we're gonna talk about what.
So I think one of the cool things is that one of the cool things with this podcast was just what I always want to do is I always want to give a platform. Again, I said it many times, there's so many drag racing and racing podcasts.
Right.
But there's almost none for show guys, right? And I feel like, at one point we're sharing the same venue, racetracks. So why can't we share the same airspace, right? So that's why we created this. And, because I've done 20 years of car shows, over 20 years of car shows, I feel, one thing that we don't ever see, we see the show, but we never get to see the promoter.
Right.
We never see the guy behind the scenes.
Right.
So with me, I was lucky enough to pull four promoters out and ask them all the same questions, right? Because I want to talk about, today's car shows and what they feel they're bringing to the industry.
Right. Well, let's get into it.
All right. So,
what's up, guys? It's Harry with the Knowing Your Roots podcast. We're lucky enough to have George from Filthy Clean Car Show Series with us. Just wanted to sit and talk to you a little bit about, what your show is all about, what your event series is all about. Go ahead and introduce yourself and tell me about your event.
So my name is George. For those who do know me, they call me Mr. Clean. I run and organize Filthy Clean, but also run a car crew called Clean Edition. Initially, Filthy Clean started from, we were doing car meets for quite some time. And then eventually the county just came down to us and said, hey, as during COVID, they came and sat there and told us like, hey, you guys have this going on. This is what you got to pay for permits. And we're just like, you know what? I think it's time for us to transition over the shows a little bit.
Nice.
And then we started looking at different venues. We have worked with other car clubs to do car shows, but then we never really done one ourselves. So then we decided to say, hey, what do we like about car shows? What is something that we could bring to the table and try to, implement into the car community? So that's how Filthy Clean actually came about. The name just came to us one day, It was just like, what's something, it's Filthy Clean
Something
stuff.
catchy,
Something
right?
catchy,
Yeah.
And then gradually in the 5 years that we've been doing it, man, it's grown. It's grown. I think our biggest year was 2023. I think we hit over like 1,500 people that attended, just roughly.
Nice. I mean, I know, so I'm from the DMV, right?
course.
And I'm always prideful of the DMV. And hey, I always say, hey, my build's from the DMV, right? And I know you're DMV based
Correct,
too.
correct.
So, I always want to support the DMV guys, right?
Gotcha.
Because we always get overlooked, right? Like there's New York and New Jersey.
Jersey,
right?
everywhere, man.
Florida, right? But then
Yeah.
it's like, oh, let's just skip everything in between.
Correct.
Like, nah, man, like we're here.
We're
right?
here. We're standing tall. We're
here,
standing
right?
tall, man.
Bet. So let me ask you some stuff about your actual show, right?
Okay.
So before, people used to be able to sign up or just like pre-reg or reg at the door, right?
Correct.
So tell me, obviously everything's transitioned since then. So tell me about your registration and your pre-screening process.
So registration now, everything's online. And we've been lucky to connect with the FOAT. They do everything that has to do car show based. So we looked into them, and ever since then, it's been actually pretty good. The way we do pre-screening, so before it was just pure show. We didn't have no VIP section, it was just pure show. Anybody who came.
So actually, let me stop there. So I was actually confused, right?
Yep.
Because I thought VIP was like VIP builds, right? But your show actually has
No, VIP
two shows in one.
One.
So it's a VIP
section.
like show, like a VIP competitor
Correct.
section, and then the regular section.
So VIP for us, definitely, we are hand-picked. Like, we have numerous of people apply, and a lot of people, unfortunately, I'm not gonna sit there and say everybody has a top-notch build, but we look for specific things, which is like, going back to the original interior, engine bay, trunk, wheels, brakes, anything that's been touched, we look into that, because that's where I was like, we gotta separate it. We want everything that's top-notch, or even a unique build that you never really see on a daily basis. Because if you go to a car meet, you'll see the same cars. You know, if you go to other shows, you're just like, oh, I've seen this car. I know what this car is different here. But I try to make sure that when we have VIP, it's like, okay, you know, I haven't seen this car. Something different, you know, something unique. And that's how we try to, you know, coordinate with the VIP section. We wish we had a lot more New York people come down to Florida, but it's hard. It's hard. You know, it's open doors though to you guys who want to register.
Yeah, it was interesting to me too because, you know, I was lucky enough to win 2 Best of Shows with my 93 Honda Civic last year. Thank you so much for appreciating that, Bill.
Mind you, I have nothing to do with the judging.
Right.
I let my staff take care of all that stuff. So I don't know until you know.
Right.
And I'll tell you this much: what I've seen when they're judging, some of them are colliding heads because they're like, no, this car has this, but no, but this car has that. And when it comes down to the VIP section, I'm kind of a little bit more picky, you know, because I created a separate category from anything that's regularly car show. Right. So everything is kind of like categorized differently. And I try to make sure if you're winning, you know, best VIP or the show, everything has to be done.
You gotta check all the boxes.
You gotta check all the boxes. It can't just be like something, oh, look, it has wheels and bags and wrap and that's it. No. You gotta be specific, man.
Yeah, it's crazy because my next question is, you know, what do your judges look for in a build? Do you guys have a point system?
We do have a point system. And it goes like, you know, from trunk, interior, everything's checked off. You know, and they give it a 1 out of 10. And then they'll calculate, all right, cool, this car has 30, but this car had 25. And that's how they'll go by picking who's who.
But then at the end, like, so I know when I used to judge, like, it was by points back then, right?
Yep.
So subjective judging is all new now, right?
Yeah.
But point series is, you know, when I used to judge point series, you know, my scale may not be to, like, your scale. So at the end,
so that's one thing at the end. Once they're done judging,
they collaborate.
They collaborate.
Okay, yeah,
they kind of like, okay, you know what? We chose these, but then and they all take pictures. You know, because nowadays it's kind of hard to remember because we have over 600-700 cars that pre-registered just for the show.
Right.
So to go to do 600-700 cars in 5 hours in a 5-hour time cap, it's hard.
Yeah.
It is hard, man.
Yeah.
And I know my judges be exhausted by the time at the end of the show.
This question is more towards you, right? Maybe you, I mean, you would know this answer, right? Out of anyone, because this is, you know, probably your baby, right?
Yeah, of course.
So, with all the different events out there, right? What's the motivation to attend yours?
So the motivation is like this. I made it into a 3-word: connecting automotive enthusiasts. It's a show you can come out and connect with anybody. You know what I'm saying? You can go to anybody, speak to anybody, and that's how you want to make sure you connect with people. Connecting the cars. We're all united by one thing. We all love cars, and I think that's should be the capsule of everything. You know, come out, enjoy some nice cars, enjoy the food, enjoy the ice cream, enjoy anything we have coming to the show. So mind you, you could come to the show, but we only don't have show. We have car limos, we have team competitions where you have the tug of war, and this year we got new stuff. We do have new stuff.
What you got coming out this year?
You gotta wait. You gotta attend. You gotta attend July 20th. July 20th, you gotta come out. You know, and we've also brought out, like, you know, I don't know if you attended the year that we brought a Hector for Fast and Furious.
Right.
You know, and we also brought Luis da Silva to our show. So it's been cool, you know, connecting more of the car enthusiasts here in the DMV that's been kind of lost.
Right.
You know, because when we were doing car meets back in the days, it was me, Wolfpack, and a couple of other guys, man. It was cool. It was actually the environment was there, but then all this doing burnouts and banger stuff, man, it just killed it. You know, it just killed on my point.
So I know we talked about you being in the DMV, right? But if there was a new city that wanted your event, how would they go about getting you there?
So getting us to a new city, we have been, you know, contacted before. You know, shoot us at us, give us a DM, shoot us an email, and we'll try to figure out what's out there in the city. You know, just to try to go back and see like what's out there for us. If it's better for outdoor, if it's better for indoor. You know, because every city brings something different.
Right.
Every city brings something different. Like, I don't know if you're really familiar with Central America. We actually have a chapter in Guatemala. I didn't even know they had a community out there. You know what I'm saying? And then I started connecting, like, okay, El Salvador. It's like, whoa, hold up, you guys got, and their cars are just like here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like you see these cities and like you guys got to come out here, and I'm just like, you know, it would be nice. It would be nice to explore somewhere else. You know, I've always wanted to go to host a show in Jersey, host a show in New York. Haven't made it out there yet. You know, I think we pretty much set our ground here in the DMV. I think it is time to kind of go out the city.
After 5 years, man, I think.
Yeah,
I think
you know, we
it's time.
tried York, PA last year, so
Right.
it was a nice little adventure. Florida is one of our cities that you definitely want to try.
Nice. Hopefully, I don't know if I'll see you there, but hopefully you make it out
come on,
there.
man.
Dude, I've done a lot. I've done a lot.
listen,
20 years, I've done a lot of
dude.
traveling, so.
You know, I'm pretty sure, like, you know, when I was seeing your car, you know, battle in the tuner battle, and I was like, man, seeing your car compete against all these other cars, I'm like, it's tough, man.
That's you know, I would love to bring you on our podcast and we talk about that.
Yeah, for sure.
That's a different.
We gotta get on that.
Totally different episode, right? So, but yeah, that car.
Let us know if you want to see it though.
That car in the last 2 years that I brought it out, I originally just brought it out.
Dude, you want to know something? Like, I grew up in that, so I remember attending HIN.
Right.
You know,
I got a lot of that.
and I have pictures when I was going to these car shows, and I'm like, man, that's what I miss about the car culture.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I really miss the era, even though I didn't have a built car at that time, because, you know, I was still pretty young.
Right.
But seeing those cars and then seeing your car, it's just like, man, it's like a tap. It's like something to me like attaches to that.
I think when we brought that out last year, and we kept bringing it to different cities, that was like the goal, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is how we used to build cars.
Yeah, and that's the way it
right?
should be,
Yeah.
man. You know. Now, listen, nowadays it is different. I'll tell you that much.
It's definitely different.
It's definitely different. But to see builds like that, like yours, still around, man, it reminds us, it's like, this is what the car, this is
where
what's
it
from.
started.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And it can still battle, right? Yeah,
No, it can still stand ground. You know what I'm saying?
Real quick, man, a couple more questions, right? So, I know you talk to your judges probably a lot, but what's the next trend your judges see coming?
Oh, that's a good question, man. You know, I don't know. Like, you know, with car shows, everything's changing. Everything. I wouldn't even know where to even begin to on that topic, to be honest with you. But I mean, because judging itself it's just hard.
Right.
It's hard. You know, because you see a lot of cars, and I'm not the type of person to just go up to be like, oh, I know that car, I should give that car a trophy. I'm not that type of person. You know what I'm saying? I feel like when you win a trophy, it should be like kind of earned a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like going back to school. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Here you go, good participation for you. You know what I'm saying? No, man, it's like, yo, we all got to put the work on there. You know what I'm saying? It's like, if you love something, just like you put the time and effort into it, I think it's the same thing. And I feel like that's what judging and building cars and anything, I think all across the board, that's what it should be.
I think this question, especially since you came from car meets, I didn't know you came from car meets.
Yeah.
So when I came up with this question, definitely didn't have you in mind. But I think you're the perfect person to answer this, right? So the question is, how does the person go from attending car meets to car shows and become competitive?
So attending a car meet, here's the thing. You can go to a car meet with your stock car coming out the dealership. You know what I'm saying? You can go to a car meet and just pull up and have a good time. When transitioning into car shows and competing, I think there's a whole different level to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like building a puzzle. You think about it. You know what the end goal is like because you've seen it, but now you got to put all the pieces.
There, right?
You know, you got to put all the pieces together and get there. You know, and I think that's one of the hard things. Because even me, like I still feel like my car's still missing a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, when we spoke earlier, you know, like I got 5 guys here, but I'm like, yeah, but you're 5 guys compared to me, one to me. It's just like, you know what I'm saying? Because I know what I like for my car. I mean, I'm real simple. But I like the simple, but to make it look nice.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Which
I think
job well done.
yeah,
right on your report.
Thanks, man.
Job
Thanks.
well done.
Thanks,
on that.
man. You know, there's still so much more which I have a vision for, and a lot of the stuff like on the platform for the Accords, they don't really have too much. So everything is kind of custom. So if you look at my trunk, I actually got the rear lip from my IS 250, and I got the body shop to cut it and mold it on.
Nice.
You know, so it's like that little stuff. It's like if you don't know, you won't know. But if I tell you, you're like, oh snap, like that's where it's from. The big brake kits from the Acura RL.
Wow.
You know, it's like little pieces
Probably
of stuff
like
that
custom brackets.
Yeah, custom bracket. Yeah, custom brackets. So it's kind of like, you know, building Lego, knowing that custom stuff that like, okay, this is gonna fit. You have a vision. You know what the end goal may look like. It's just putting it together.
All right, lightning round. Ready?
All right.
All right. You just say the first thing that comes to your mind. All right. All right. Import, domestic.
Import.
Domestic or naturally aspirated?
Natural aspirated.
Coils or bags?
Bags.
Icy or Slurpee?
Slurpee.
Starbucks or Dunkin'?
Dunkin'.
Nike or Adidas?
Adidas.
Clean edition or emotion?
Both.
Oh, I like that. Hey man, appreciate you. Thank you for your
Look,
time,
I
man.
appreciate you guys. Make sure you give this man a follow. You can also follow me at DomSafeGen _2_ or clean_edition. I appreciate you guys having me here, man.
Yeah, no problem, man. Thank you.
No problem.
So that was a pretty good interview. Again, a local.
Came up with questions myself, by the way.
Some of those questions were mine. So, of the questions, one of the questions that I had was, how to progress, right? That's my favorite question there. Not because it's his question, because it's my question. Anyway, is that the question you asked all these guys, or is that just a question you had for him?
No, I asked
everyone the same question.
Everyone the same question. Okay.
So that was a good interview. Let's get on to the next one, and then at the end we'll recap all of them.
So the next one, man, I can't believe how lucky I was to get all these guys, right? So usually they don't talk, or if they do, you don't really see it, but I'm glad I was able to get this. So next one is Elite Tuner and Ranger.
Right.
So let's get that one.
What's up, guys? It's Harry with the Knowing Your Roots podcast. I'm lucky enough to have Ranger Ramirez here from the Elite Tuner car show series. First of all, thank you for your time.
Absolutely,
sitting
man.
with us. Real quick, man. So obviously you're the guy behind Elite Tuner. Tell me about your event.
So, obviously we've been doing events since 2014, where we first started doing events, and we started outdoors, and now we're doing indoor events. Now we're across the whole nation, including Puerto Rico, so we're doing events all over, man.
Awesome. So I did notice that on your schedule, right, you do have all your event schedule,
Right.
but you have Autotopia and you have Elite Tuner. What's the difference between the two?
So the difference is, there's really no difference, but the reason why I created Autotopia is because we wanted to create something a little bit more unique, and not like a meet kind of style event like what Elite Tuner does. Because with Elite Tuner, we actually have a VIP area, and then we have a regular car show area, a car meet area where everybody could attend. But Autotopia is very selective on what we allow to go in there and stuff like that. But that's basically the difference. The same company, it's just different name.
Right. Okay. Cool. It's funny that you brought up the selection process. So, tell me about your registration and your pre-screening process.
So basically, when you register online, I get an email, or I go through my app and see who registers. And then what I do is I look at their mod list, look at the pictures, and if I see it's something that I want to have at the event, I accept it. And if it's something that I don't, then I deny it. And I hate to deny cars, but people need to understand that Autotopia is more of an upscale event versus something that anybody could go to. So if you have a regular car that you're still building, you go to Autotopia and you look at your same car but modified to its full potential.
Let me ask you this: have you ever had a car that pre-screened and showed up to the event and didn't look like the pre-screen?
Oh, 100%. Every event we have those.
And what do you do?
It's just hard because at the end of the day, I have a good heart. You know what I mean? So I understand why they did it and why they want to be in it. I do talk to some of them and be like, hey, listen, you're gonna go in there and you're not gonna look alike. You know what I mean? You're gonna look a little different, and I don't want nobody talking crap about your car. And if they say they don't care, then at the end of the day, I try to make it work for them. And so they could understand what kind of event this is. And then, once it happens once, it never happens again. So they see it, and then they try to modify their car to fit in with us and stuff like that. So,
what do your judges look for in a build? And are you a point system, or are you subjective judging?
So I would consider it a point-based system, but a lot of it has to be subjective too, because at the end of the day, this is why we don't give everybody a judging sheet, because at the end of the day, if I judge your car and then Tone judge your car, I might give a higher percentage than he would, and then
the scale's different.
Right, because my mentality would be different than anybody else's, right? And so if I give you a 9 and he gave you a 10, and then next year you get a 9 or an 8 because somebody else is doing it, but like, how the hell did I go back when I actually added stuff? And it just becomes a lot of problems happen when stuff like that happens. So that's one of the things.
Yeah. So with all the different events out there, right? Mm-hmm. And I think on the East Coast, before it used to be like 2 or 3 events. Now it's like there's more selection, right?
Right.
There's more event promoters, right? So what makes your event the go-to event?
So I feel like, to be honest with you, like I told you before, and I told other people before, I think that I don't like to not have nothing going on. Like, I like to have a stage. I like to have people jumping up and down, with the music. I know your son he loved that part.
I was gonna let you finish, but I'll let you finish. Yeah.
The games on stage, the stuff that we do, like the Twinkie eating contest, the running, and I feel like that brings a different dynamic to the events that a lot of events do not have. So, a lot of times you guys are just sitting by your cars waiting waiting for the awards, and I feel like that's a little bit waste of time. And I like to do giveaways and stuff like that, so I feel like it's a little different.
Yeah, I was gonna say, right? So I don't know if you bribed my kid or whatnot, but like at the end of the year, I was like, hey man, what's your favorite event? And he was like, oh, Elite Tuner, that was my favorite event of all the events we went to.
That's crazy.
Right? And I'm just like, why? He's just like, I just had more fun at it. So,
Yeah.
Props to you and actually focusing in on that and the competitors and knowing that, yeah, they just sit there literally for 6 hours.
6-7 hours just doing nothing. So it's fun. It's a fun thing that I just want to have fun.
I know. I talked to you. I don't know if you revealed this to everybody. But I know at one event we talked and you were like, I'm the hype guy. Right?
I am. Like, I try to be, right? I try to be.
Yeah. So that's great that you bring that passion into that event, into all your events, man. Right. I see it and it does pay off, right? Because I never noticed it before. Once you told me, I saw the event, and then I would look at all the other events. And Ranger, like you look at the crowd.
Yeah.
Like Ranger does all of that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I try, and a lot of people be like, "Yo, Elite Tuner's not an event without Ranger on stage, right?" And I try to do different things with different hosts and stuff like that. I just feel like people want to see. I don't know. I feel like people want to see me on stage and make them do dumb stuff on, you know what I mean?
Hey, you do it though.
But it happens. I go on stage and I tell everybody come. They already know what is going to happen. They're going to get free stuff, you know what I mean? They're going to get t-shirts thrown at them, and any of our sponsors that give away stuff, they're going to get some of that stuff for free. So I feel like we try to give back a lot.
Bet. So if there was a new city that wanted your event there, how would they go about doing that?
So one of the things that I get that a lot, right? So when you come into Tennessee, when you come into Texas, when you're going to Nebraska, and I'm like, I don't know, nobody there. So, I would literally try to hook up with a team, and see if they can help me reach out to different teams and see if we can make the event happen. And then obviously the venue is another hard thing. So, I'll have somebody over there try to be my, my backbone and try to do some of that legwork where they could, just go there and get venues for me or try to help me get contacts, because it's hard me doing events every weekend, being a vendor and being a promoter. It's a lot.
That's crazy, because I know when you first started, it was just a couple shows, right? Like most people do. And it's usually New York, New Jersey based.
Right.
And they usually stay in where they're comfortable.
In their region, yeah.
Right? But you went out, Vegas.
Everywhere.
You've been everywhere, right?
I just did Puerto Rico.
And fast,
yeah.
Right? So, congratulations and to all your success.
Thank you.
With that, because I know that's a big risk, right? What's the next trend your judges see?
The next trend the judges see? I really can't speak on that because I'm not really a judge. Right. And I let my judges do their thing, and I try not to interfere with any of that stuff. I've done my own judging for my own shows before, when freaking planes don't show up with my judges and I have to do it, like New Mexico and Arizona one time. But we have something cooking in the works with the Foat, where you can scan your QR code, a sticker that we give you, and right there you'll be able to see all your judging history from other things. I know that's going to be very controversial, but it's going to be something that, let's see what happened. Why did this person win, and whatever the case may be. Yeah. At the end of the day, judges make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes, and I feel like that's either going to help us or it's going to really destroy.
Open the book of.
Figure out, now do we really need to get super consistent and not just give him an 8 when he's supposed to be really a 10 or stuff like that. So I feel like that's going to really open up the judging thing for different events. So we'll see. We're going to try it out and see what happens.
Cool.
Because no matter what we do, you guys are going to see the scores.
Yeah.
So once we scan it, we get to put your score numbers in there, and then you're going to see it every time you come to that event. Every year, you're going to see it.
I think that's cool, right? Because me growing up in the scene, I've been doing this for 20 years,
Right.
20 plus years. And I remember getting score sheets, and that would help me, like, oh, damn, my interior is not up to par. Let me focus on the interior, right? So hopefully that helps. Hopefully it does more help than damage,
bad,
right?
yeah.
So, but I've seen it go both ways.
It could go both ways easily.
Fast too, right?
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, right? So how does a person go from car meets to car shows and become competitive? Like if you got a guy that's just doing car meets and then he eventually...
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's a lot of people that try to do car meets and they get 800 cars and then they do a car show and then only 125 people show up. And it's because you created a trend, right? Hey, why do I go to your shows and pay when every time I went to your shows it was free? What they don't understand is that, hey, when you have to pay, there's permits involved, police involved, fire departments, EMS, all that stuff, EMT, whatever it is. There's a lot of different things involved that you have to pay for that now you cannot do for free because then you're coming out of pocket, and a lot of people just don't have money just to come out of pocket to do an event, especially in a convention center.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's hard. I've seen a lot of people do it and a lot of people fail. And then what happens is their self-esteem just goes down. Be like, yo, I just did a meet with 800 to 1,000 people. How do I not get all these people to pay? Well, big difference in crowd. When I first started, I did a meet where 800 people showed up. That's why I keep using that number. And then I did a show and more than 1,000 cars showed up because I did it at a freaking venue, which is called Six Flags Great Adventure. Who the hell is not gonna wanna go to that event and have coasters in the background with your cars in it? So when I did it right, I feel. You know what I mean? I didn't go to a regular parking lot and just do a car show. I did it with the intention of being huge.
You've definitely done that, my man.
So.
Anything else you want to plug for your show series?
Well, just go online, check us out at elitetuner.net. We have shows all over the country. I know we're coming to Virginia on August 2nd at Fredericksburg Convention Center. If you guys from around this area.
I'll see you before then.
Our season opener is next weekend on Saturday at NJMP, and then you guys are going to be at Autotopia on April 19th. So.
Yep, April 19th.
Yep.
All right, man, lightning round. Ready?
Go ahead.
You say the first thing, right? Okay. Import, domestic.
Import.
Boost or naturally aspirated?
Boost.
Coils or bags?
Coils.
Icy or Slurpee?
Slurpee.
Starbucks or Dunkin'?
Starbucks.
Nike or Adidas?
Adidas.
Tensy or Emotion? Just kidding.
That's messed up. Both.
I'm just kidding. Both. Yeah.
Both.
I like that. All right, man. Thank you for your time, man. I appreciate you, man.
Absolutely,
Congratulations,
man. Thank you.
And we'll see you on tour this year.
April 19th. All right, guys. Thank you.
So, you trying to stump these guys. Emotion versus Tensy?
I said I was just joking, man. Because, I always want to tie in, right? Like, even though we always say it in these shows, or these episodes, we always have something to do with, we always bring emotion in, right? So, same thing, man. Like lightning round, and I was trying to catch them off guard, right? But the lightning round was all for fun. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see anyone else doing it, so I was like, yeah, let me try it, right? That might be my thing, right? Like,
I think it's super cool.
all right. So the next guy I got, right, Import Expo.
Okay.
Let me tell you how hard it is to get a guy from Import Expo to talk about this show, but I was able to do it.
Let's watch it.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Harry from the Knowing Your Roots podcast. I'm lucky to have Jaden here from the Import Expo. Hey, thank you so much for spending time with me. I know we're at your event right now, and I've seen you running around all day. Thank you for just spending a couple minutes with me, man.
Yeah, of course, man, of course.
Real quick, man. So, Import Expo's been around for a while. Tell me about your event.
Well, Import Expo has been around for over 10 years. We've been doing events across Canada as well as the US. We cater to mostly everything between off-road builds, stance builds, track builds, you name it, they're probably here. But yeah, we've been doing events for a while and we cater to generally the whole public. So yeah, it's a family-oriented event, so yeah.
I noticed that you have, so when I look at your schedule, you have 30 events. And like you said, it goes coast to coast,
does,
right?
Yeah.
Are all those Import Expo events, or are they some of them like subsidiaries?
Majority is Import Expo events. We do have a few like child brands, such as like Fitted Lifestyle and a few others, as well as we do collabs with other brands as well. But majority is Import Expo brands, yeah.
So what's the difference between like your fitted show versus the Import Expo?
For example, fitted is more stance oriented, so a lot more cambered out cars and stance, as well as we have also other brands such as like Cars and Kicks, which caters to other events such as like sneakers and cars too. So Import Expo is its parent brand that caters to the majority everything.
Right. Tell me about your registration and pre-screening process, right? Because back in the day, it used to be, hey, register, pre-register, and if you don't pre-register, we can register you at the door. But obviously, times have changed since then. So tell me about that registration process and what you guys look for.
So for our registration process, it's kind of simple. You submit your images of your car as well as your mod list, and we kind of go through and see if it fits our criteria for our show. And we kind of go through, filter out cars, and yeah, it's pretty simple in terms of that. Yeah.
Have you ever had it where you pre-screened a car, and then when it showed up, it looked worse than?
We've had occurrences like that. Unfortunately, it does happen, and we understand, but unfortunately, we do have to make that call day of the show. For example, if it looks really bad, and then pictures obviously looks completely different, we do have to deny it. It's unfortunate, but it's misleading sometimes, right? So you don't want to give somebody an experience when they come to the show and they see something that's not that nice, and you know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your judging, right? So what are your judges looking to build? And then are you guys a point-based system, or are you guys a little bit more of like that new subjective judging system?
Generally, we don't do a point system. We kind of assess all these cars beforehand and at the show as well. Like you mentioned before, some cars might be nice, some online, but in person is different. So we do look at overall mods in terms of interior, exterior, like everything, engine mods. But we also take in consideration that sometimes more is not more, and sometimes less is more. But to a certain extent, right? But that's kind of like how we overall judge it. We don't do point system because it doesn't really kind of work,
right?
Especially with mods, right? Can't be buying like eBay mods and then jacking up the points, you know what I mean?
Right.
But yeah.
So is it safe to say that you guys are judging before the cars even get here, or as the cars are getting here?
We do both. So we prejudge just based on like registration that comes in, and then we judge it day of, because one, that car might not show up, so you have to kind of cancel it out, and then you have to also see if that car is nice enough and it compares to its registration. So we do both, just in case.
Nice, cool. With all the different events, right? Different show series that are out there, like what makes yours the one to go to?
I say our events, like other events, they're caters to different people and different crowds, but our event is more family oriented, it's inviting. We try to include everybody, and we obviously try to set our standards when it comes to cars and quality that come through, as well as we have our attractions and stuff that we also like to have, especially our display setups. A lot of events out there do not have the same setup and displays and like such as our floor.
I think like looking at the progression of it, a couple years ago, you guys had the platform,
the podiums,
the podiums, and then now you guys have the flooring, and then the banner system. Like, so that's pretty cool. That's actually pretty cool for certain individuals that may never have that chance to actually get that right. Instead of just the two podiums, now you have the flooring that can hold 4 cars, and then you have the banners that can hold 2 and 2. So
yeah, absolutely. Especially
cool
for the car guys, like they like to come and see the different setups, and it makes people happy to see that, oh, there's a nice display, and especially for a car guy, like if you're selected to be on our display and our flooring, it's it feels good, right?
Yeah.
Rather than just parking,
Yeah.
So it's something different.
Yeah. I don't even know if this question can pertain to you guys, but like, if there was a city that you guys weren't already going to, how would they go about getting in touch with you guys or getting your event into that city?
Just hit us up on IG. We're always open. This year we've added so many new cities on the map, and just because people have hit us up, it's like, hey, we have a community out there. And then obviously we have to do our research, right, and see if it makes sense to go
logistically,
out there. Logistically, of course, right? But we don't mind going out to different places. We're always looking to expand. So yeah.
Okay. What is the next trend that your judges see coming forth in show cars?
The next trend,
Yeah.
in terms of mods?
Yeah.
Ooh. I don't know. I think I'm seeing a lot more track-oriented builds rather than stance. And I don't know, maybe I'm just seeing things, but now the quality of stance has kind of gone down a little bit. in terms of just quality, in terms of like, parts wise.
Right.
But yeah, in terms of like trend wise, right now I'm seeing a lot more track oriented
More
builds.
race inspired.
More race inspired builds, yeah.
Cool. One thing that I wanted to bring up, I noticed that I saw earlier this year, you guys have the Import Expo Cup,
Yeah, we do.
right?
Yeah.
Tell me about the Import Expo Cup.
So for our cup, it's new for this year. Basically, every single show that we do, their best of show winner gets their name engraved, and then we're gonna put that all around the cup, and then at the end, we're gonna like promote it and stuff like that, and we're gonna give it away to somebody.
We don't have a distinction of how that cup is gonna go.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. But we are gonna. It's the end of the year once
Right.
all the shows are completed throughout this year, and then we'll give it away.
Let me ask you this: have you ever thought, because you guys, last time I counted, there was 30 stops this year.
Yeah.
Have you ever guys thought about doing a points chase within your own show?
Like, how do you mean?
Like kind of like F1 or NASCAR, right? You win one event, you get 10 points, right? And then at the end of the year, whoever accumulates the most points is like Acura of the year, or East Coast Car of the Year, or so forth, Team of the Year, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Because you guys have so many stops, I was like,
Right. No, we haven't actually thought about that. Actually, you mentioned it's a good idea, but we might include it. We might think of that. It's a cool idea.
Something new, right?
Yeah, something new, something cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember back in the day there was a NCCA judging system, and that's what me bringing emotion out to those events. That's what did it for us, because we wanted to be known as the best, right?
Yeah.
We accumulated all these points, and that's how it went. All right, man. So lightning round. Lightning
Okay.
round. Just say the first thing that comes to your mind, all right?
Okay.
Import, domestic.
Import.
Booster, NA.
NA.
Coils or bags.
Coils.
Icy or Slurpee.
Icy.
Starbucks or Dunkin'.
Starbucks.
Starbucks or Tim Hortons.
Starbucks.
Oh, wow. From Canada
Yeah,
too?
Timmy's is not all that great.
Whoa. Nike or Adidas?
Nike.
All right, man. Appreciate your time, man.
Thank you,
for
bro.
bringing your event to DC. A lot of people leave DC off the map, and we appreciate you guys coming back every
Yeah,
year.
of course. It's great. It's great having you again.
Yeah. Thank you.
So that was pretty interesting. I like how much energy he had for the lightning round. Like, I'm ready, So you got one more, right?
I do have one more. I don't want to say save the best for last, but I mean, he wasn't at. Who was the last one I could get?
Right. It just worked out the way it worked out.
Yeah, it worked out, but he's an OG. To see this guy start where he started and to see where he's come today, I have nothing but support for him. So
That's good.
Anytime he asks, like, hey man, can you attend this event? Can you attend that event? I'm always like, yeah, right? Because the way I see it, without, not necessarily, this specific individual's event, but without any events, why do we build our car? Like, we build our cars, but where do we show them off at? Right?
Yeah.
So,
You need a platform for competition.
yeah.
Right.
So I got Jay Martinez from Tuner Revolution last.
Let's see what we got.
What's up, guys? It's Harry from the Knowing Your Roots podcast. I'm lucky to have run into Jay Martinez at an event here that we're at today. Just wanted to go over a couple questions, ask you a couple questions about your event. All right? Here you go. Yep. So the first question is, tell me about your event. Tell me about Tuner Evo.
Wow, it's been a long time coming, but we started in 2006 at the York Fairgrounds in York, Pennsylvania. It was something that I just started just for fun and with my friends in our area, but then later on we understood that it was turning into a business. And around the recession in 2009, 2012 is when I decided to go, full time with it. But ever since we, took it full time, it's a national tour that we take around the country, especially in Pennsylvania, Florida, Chicago, LA, Texas, and Puerto Rico. So it's something that, we envision to see as a national tour, a competing event where vehicles and vendors and spectators can come and see good quality of vehicles and a quality entertainment event.
Great. Tell me about your registration and your pre-screen process.
So our registrations is that you come to the website. You must have 5 photos for your car. Usually we recommend having something outside, front, side, back, rear, and trunk. And when you submit that information, you submit your Instagram information, because sometimes we like to look a little bit more when you register. But when it comes to the screening, we have a group of guys within our team, or sometimes I'm the one that screens most of the cars. And I mainly look for quality. I look for cleanliness, and at the same time, there's a lot of younger guys who are still coming up and still trying to pursue their dreams of being a bigger quality car or anything like that. Not saying that I let them in, but it's more or less of like, I like to give people opportunities so they can see what everyone else is doing at the event. So maybe hopefully next year they come back and do something better.
I was going to say that about your event. The one thing I love about your event is that I've seen it grow over the past 20 years. I remember I used to compete against you, right? And then from there, you started doing your shows. I started attending your shows, and I've gone ever since. And I remember when it used to be just one show.
Yeah.
Right?
For like
and
6 years.
Yeah, and then you started branching out doing these other cities. Yeah. And I was like, hey man, if that's what you're doing, like, we love it, right? So, we love to compete. And I think that's the one thing that we're lacking, is that we don't have enough car clubs that are willing to travel. I feel like emotion, I don't like to tie in emotion with my podcast, but sometimes it goes hand in hand. But, I feel like emotion is only one of the few crews that actually travels, right?
I would say so. And I think there's other teams out there that do travel. There's chapters that, you'll see in Florida or in New York or even Chicago. I feel like, back in the day when we had a circuit going, it was more intriguing and more beneficial for people to be able to travel from city to city. Those circuits will give people benefits to be able to travel. I feel like now it's like, a lot of people, it's harder for them to travel, especially with today's economy. But at the same time, we have to give, not even just as my event, but other events, we need to give them the value to be able to travel if they're coming from New York to, let's say, Virginia Beach or our Florida event. So I think it's very important for people to, at the same time, explore the idea, because sometimes you might have a team that does not travel at all, but they don't even give themselves the opportunity to come to see the events that they could travel to. So,
and I think that's also helps with the quality of builds, right? Because when you see what else, when you're doing the same shows in your same community, it
becomes redundant.
Yes.
So, but if you're entering in a new climate, a new area, and new people that you've never met, or new cars, it's a whole different atmosphere for yourself.
Exactly. All right. So, let me ask you this: you probably don't do a lot of the judging yourself anymore, but what do your judges look for in a build? Not only that, but are you a point-based system, or are you more subjective, or a little bit of both?
What was the first question?
What do your judges look for in a build?
Okay, so I think for me, if I can speak for myself when it comes to looking for what I look for in a build, it's really hard to say, but I always look for what's wrong. Like at first, I'm trying to find what's wrong with this vehicle, whether if it's paint, whether if it's cleanliness, whether if it's scratches or dents or orange peel, or why did he put the wiring this way, or etc. I look for all the bad stuff, and then for me, I always look for the good stuff. So what is the bad and the good? I try to compare the bad and the good. If there's not a lot of bad, then I'm gonna see a lot of good. Hopefully, I see a lot more good than I can see to gravitate the decision that I'm saying this is a good car. When it comes to the judges, I'm sorry.
So basically, the next part of the question is your judging more of a points system?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Subjective?
Okay, so I think it's a little bit of both. When we first started, it was point system.
You used the e-judge, correct?
We did e-judge for like 2 years, but we have our own dashboard, and we implemented the judging system in our dashboard, and we did everything mainly point system. But when it came to a point at some of the events, what we noticed was that I might score higher than you, and you might score lower than me or higher than me, and it just became a lot of conflict back and forth when we were making decisions. So the point system, as far as like, if we go and look at a car and say point for point, is that car line up to that car? Or are we looking at subjective as a group, as a team? What do you think about that car? And we discuss all the way around. There's times that these cars are neck and neck, but the littlest things that I might say, that's the car. And for me, for some reason, I joke about it. For some reason, I tell people, pop your gas tank. And when they open their gas tank, it's dry, bare bone. It's no paint. So these are the things that were like, hey, you should upgrade that because it helps you in that decision.
You just give your secret away, by the way. But I agree with you, right? So I always tell you, like, if you're coming to compete, you got to compete, and cleanliness is part of the competition, right? So cleaning the inner barrels of your wheels, that comes hand in hand. Yep. So ultimately, I guess what you say, cleanliness is the tiebreaker.
Yeah, absolutely. I think cleanliness is a tiebreaker. I always feel like sometimes it's hard too because it might be two different cars. So some cars like may match up with each other, but then something about the other one because it may have more horsepower or the motor bay is fully built or something like that. Engine bay is fully built, whatever. But sometimes when you go back and forth, you just have to find like what's better than one, then what's wrong with the other, and compare.
How would a new city get you to bring your event to their city?
Man, that's a really good question. I think that's like almost like a two-part question, almost like, because I feel like some cities are always the ones coming to us saying, come here. But at the same time, if that city, let's say I'm giving you Miami for an instance, like Wynwood, it's because I found it. So when I see it and I found it and I see a vision with it, I'm like, I'm bringing my show here because there's a vision behind it. And I like to give a lot of more aesthetics at my events, especially when it comes to background for photographers, video, content creation, and stuff like that. That's why we're trying to move into like more. We still do a lot of indoor shows, but at the same time, we like to explore outdoor events because we want to give people that vibe. So at the same time, when it comes to like understanding what people want from us, is because they always say, hey, there's not a big car show community here, but if you guys would come, you guys would intrigue a lot more people to come. So I've noticed the balance of both.
Yeah, I think I can give you that, right? Because I think you're one of the first to bring sneaker contest into the car show.
Years ago.
Cosplay was the new one that you
did in Chicago.
Yeah,
we
and
did in Chicago,
that's,
and it worked out great.
yeah,
Cool.
and that's a huge risk, right? Like,
yeah,
that's a huge,
I wasn't out because I don't know nothing.
You know nothing about it,
cosplay.
right?
I
So
don't know nothing.
yeah, so and I think that's great that you're bringing like some of these
elements
into your show.
Yep,
yeah,
yep.
I think that's great because
throughout the years, when it comes to the elements part, throughout the years, one of the biggest things and the reason why I created Tunariva was because prior to cars, what did you like? We like skateboarding and BMX. We like b-boys and we like hip hop. So all those elements kind of come together, and I just like to put all of those in one house. So that was always my take behind all the entertainment aspect when it came to hip hop, when it came to b-boys, when it came to RC drift. All these things have to coexist with each other because it's one big, automotive festival per se.
what's the next trend that you or your judges see?
Wow. It's different. It's different in every city, I would say, because every city I see is more and more different styles of building. And believe it or not, like Puerto Rico's completely different than SoCal, but SoCal's completely different than Chicago. Chicago's completely different to Philly. So when it comes to like what I see different, I'm starting to see a lot more people building their interiors that I'm finally happy about, because before it was just more about what was done to the outside of the car. I'm really enjoying seeing people wrapping their engine, their dashboards, their carpet area, their seats, and maybe doing a kind of like stereo system or air ride system and taking to another level, being more today versus what it was back in the day. I'm enjoying seeing that when it comes to what's more new. Not saying it's new, but that people are like really doing it, And fabrication. I see more fabrication.
Yeah, I get that a lot. I'm kind of glad that Stance is on its way out, and we're seeing more race car builds, more race application builds. I think, which I'm happy about. Right, I'm more of always been like that show performance guy, so that's what I like.
It's crazy to say, like, the comment, that's the genre and the era that we come from, and I understand what you're saying. when the era of stands came out, it was really hard to gravitate because at first I didn't understand, but then I had to understand. And by knowing why and what, one second, knowing why and what and the reason for the purpose of why people build stands cars, I had to learn that very quick because at the end of the day, it's still a community. It's still automotive community, and I had to make sure that everyone was happy and is leveled within the venues. You know,
It was kind of like the Scion. It was kind of like the Scion.
that Scion era.
Right?
Yeah,
The Scion
yeah. I remember.
Okay, this question is, I'm kind of interested to hear your response, right? So how does a person go from car meets to car shows and become competitive?
I mean, I think the car meets are the grassroots. You know, I feel like, you know, depending where the car meets at or what type of car meet it is, because a lot of events are car meets or organized meets versus just, you know, your Friday night at the gas station with the boys, you know. I think that's your grassroots. I definitely encourage people to go to car meets and meet new people, because when you meet new people, you may cross a path with someone that may help you to take your car to the next level. So therefore, that makes you go to the car shows, because now you feel confident on going to the car shows because it's actually being a build. And when it comes to the car show size, I think it's great to see when you're in the show and you see young guys coming up and they have questions. We can educate that back to them, and they can, in 3 years we'll see them right next to us. So it's a good transition between car meets and car shows.
I think you and I talked about it not too long ago, but I mean, you've been hanging on this word educate.
Yeah.
Right? I think you've been pushing that and trying to get
For over
that
10 years, I've
for
been saying that
educate.
word. I don't
Yeah.
know. It just keeps coming to me. I'm like, we gotta educate. You know?
I mean, I'm glad that I was able to catch you here. I'm sure that, you know, if you have time, we'll have you come down to Brothers and actually shoot a podcast where
for sure.
we'll actually talk
I'm
history.
only like, what, 2 hours from you guys?
Probably less than
hour
that,
and a half,
man.
2
Yeah.
hours, something like that. Yeah.
But
Definitely check it out.
let's close this out with a lightning round, okay?
What round?
Lightning round.
What's that?
Oh, you're about to find out.
Okay.
Right? Import or domestic?
Import.
Boost or NA?
NA.
Coils or bags?
Coils.
Icy or Slurpee?
Icy.
Starbucks or Dunkin'?
Starbucks.
Nike or Adidas?
Damn. Nike.
And
Even though I'm wearing Adidas today.
last, WR team or Emotion?
Don't do that to me. Don't do that to me.
You could answer both.
Both.
Yo, man, totally appreciate you, brother.
No problem.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
That was interesting. Shout out to Jay. What interesting way to answer those questions. I think that man, I really like Jay's answers.
Well,
And not to take anything away from the other two guys or the other three guys.
so the way I see it, right? Jay is focusing on the competition first and the entertainment second, whereas the other guys are kind of trying to. The
Entertaining
competition
people.
is already there. They're trying to find a way to entertain.
This one of the things that I thought was very interesting was the cosplay costume contest. You and I have talked about what I think, and maybe we'll get into that in the next episode, because we're going to talk about the future next episode, right?
Yeah.
And then one of these days we'll get around to my origin story. But a few things stood out to what Jay said, and a few things stood out with the Clean Edition guy. What's his name again? George. George's answer for the progression of a car going from a guy being a successful meat car and a successful show car, they're not the same things, right? Those are totally not the same things. I think I like Jay's answer because, you know, in order for you to want to be, let's use the word champ, you have to go through a few things. And part of those things is, you know, going to car meets and being the guy, and then going to the car show and not being the guy.
And I think that's similar to the way that I went through, right? So I actually had to go to the car shows to do it because there
no
were
car
meets.
meets, right?
But now you have meets where you could be the best car of the meet, and once that one guy's like, I wonder how if I want to compete.
Right.
Do I want to take that step? You know what I mean? So, yeah,
I think
it's like
that
the
was
farm. It's like the farm system.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah. So if you had to sum this up, your career, the past, the present, the future, well, the past, the present, we're going to do the future later. What kind of things would you do? Let's ask you some of those questions. Oh yeah, I didn't. I got you.
Oh, yeah, you
I
got me on this one.
All right. So what do you think it needs to happen for you to go from a meet car to a show car, on the level that I think that some of our cars are?
again, I think it takes an individual that's competitive, right? If you're doing it for clout, stay a meat car, right? You're gonna get more Instagram hits. All those, it's free. You're gonna get all those photographers are gonna be there. Stay there, man. That's what you want to do. But to me, car shows is like a professional sport. Okay, like I feel like I have a professional team.
Right.
Okay, like we're built to compete. That's why you don't see us at
Meets and stuff like that.
right?
Well, it's not that. Sometimes,
You get kind of crazy.
Marvin and I were at the schmuck meet thing, right?
That's not a meet. That's an open house.
That's an open house, but there's no trophies. And we're there to support Jason, right?
right, of course.
The thing is like, you see my car there? No, because it's not worth it to me to load the car,
But
go get the trailer.
You're 2 hours out.
Right,
That's another thing. It's
right. That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying basically is that like, if you're a a car show guy, it's work to get your car to a show. It's a job.
So when I first started, I know I was one of the main guys that was like, I drive my car to the show. That guy trailered, right? As I grow older, I understand now why they trailered, right?
respect is there, right? Yeah.
It's an investment in their car,
Yeah.
right? Like they put all this money into their car that they don't want it to get. There's so much that could happen on the road,
Right.
and then it's gone,
Right.
right? So I didn't take that into consideration, right? Oh, trailer queen, da da da. Now, as I got older, I understand, right? Especially with OG1, like it never ever was, on a trailer until, the tag expired when we brought it back out. Now it's on the trailer, right?
It's the best place for it. I mean, you're curating. You're curating a build from 20 years ago, right? 25 years ago at this point. So when you start getting interested in car show from car meet, a lot of the things that you had from car meet won't transition to the end of the build of a car show car, right?
Exactly.
That stuff people leave behind. They start to realize that, oh shit, that guy's got a set of SC37Ks. They haven't made those.
I think that's where the product now, the quality of the product now, like say for example, you have a car that has, I don't know, man. I don't even want to call out any like bad companies, right? Because I don't want to be the one to say like, hey, if you dreamt that your car was going to have this product on it and you worked your ass off and you got it, like that might be the most prized possession you have.
Right.
But we'll just say more common products that you're able to get, right, might work at a car meet, right? But then when you go to the car show, everyone's got that piece. Right. So then that piece that you work so hard for is.
What's interesting about what you're saying right now is there's part that I have and Marvin have. There's one part on both cars that's exactly the same. That's intake manifold.
Why you guys compare yourself to Marvin, man?
I'm not. I'm using that as an example. I use Marvin because there's another car that has the same exact thing. I just didn't want to start the shit. Okay.
Well,
I'm just saying.
So with the S2000 class, I'm starting to notice that manifold pop up a lot more, and I think it's because there was no manifold before.
There's Skunk 2, but it's more.
But that looks more OEM. That
yeah.
looks more OEM, right?
Yeah.
So now that new manifold that you're talking about, now you're seeing that on the higher end cars, right?
The reason the competition cars. The reason that I brung that up, not to do any other reason, but to go to reinforce your fact of like, that's like a minimum. Like clear corners in the back in the day, minimum. Like you literally got your car.
It's the price of entry.
It's the price of entry.
I like to call it the price of entry.
Right. the first thing you did.
Yeah.
You could have you still have hubcaps. That bitch better have some fucking clear corners on it, right? that was
price of entry.
the price of entry.
Intake, price of entry.
Price of entry,
Yeah.
right. Well, if you're me, it's turbo, but what?
I
Turbo's
had
important.
You know why I never went turbo? No one's ever asked me why I never went turbo.
I've asked you many a times. I know the answer.
Well, let's see if you remember. The reason why, what's the answer?
You don't want the trouble.
Yeah. So when I used to work for Norris,
You saw the turbo's car.
oh, let's put this turbo on. They go really fast. That's cool. But then they blow out all this black smoke, and they're back in the shop like 2 weeks later, and then they sit there.
So the difference between a turbo car now for a 50-year-old guy like myself, that trailer's a car that has 572 miles on it from, the last time, I counted the mileage. So I don't drive it. I don't drive it every day, and then when I do drive it, and I beat on it, I know that it's going to cost me money, right? So I don't do it. That's kind of a lie, but you know that too. But I don't mechanically break that car. You know what I mean? I don't take it to the mechanical limits. So that's kind of the difference. But we're not here to talk about me. We're trying to talk about you.
But back to your question, right? So number one, you gotta have the competitive drive. You gotta have the want. Number two, I think when that transition happens, you know that some of the parts that you thought you could get away with at a meat car gotta go.
Can't get away with it. Right?
Yeah, you gotta upgrade some of your stuff, which at that point costs more money. Now, does that meat guy that's trying to compete have the financial stability to do that? Yes or no, right?
I think everybody's able to do whatever they want. The drive is going to give you the idea of whether you did the right thing or not. Right?
I want to kind of compare it to like basketball, right? Like you talk about Kobe Bryant, right? And since he was a kid, he knew he wanted to be a professional basketball player. Mm-hmm. And then when he reached that goal, he was like, I want to win championships, right? You talk about it, I watch videos of him all the time. They don't hang conference championships. They don't hang, they don't hang those banners. They only hang championship banners. Right? That's
everything else is forgettable.
Yeah, everything else is forgettable, right? So, and that brings me to the same thing is that, if you win a trophy, third place, let's say third place Honda, third place whatever, do you have that drive to get first place? Now, when you get first place, are you happy with that, or do you want specialty category, best of show, right? Like level up, right? So it just depends. Like and I can say that yes, I had it right because once I hit my goals, I was always like, what's next? What's next? I was always adding what's next, what's next. And then even with me, it was like I would find like other cars. Like I wonder how my car would go against that car, right? Maybe that car doesn't travel to the DMV. So what? I gotta go
there.
I gotta go there, and I would lose. Not gonna lie. I'm not saying I'm undefeated. I'll definitely be.
I will say this about our journey in the last 3 episodes in the last year and a half, 2 years. So I'm finding out more and more that you were more humble about your beginnings and finding out the respect you had for the win, and maybe a little bit for me even. Like that really was an eye opener because. Typically when you find guys that have been on the top and are on the top, is they forget where they came from, and I think it's really important as we end this podcast here that we know that we know us, me as the interviewer and you as the interviewee and our audience. They know that like you're a human. They know that you are you've had, or sometimes maybe even have the same struggles as they. You have goals and you set them and then you reach them and you reset your goals, and I feel like you don't have a glass ceiling. I think that you are willing to go all the way. The question is who's going to die first, me or you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's fair to say. You know what I mean? I always say individual awards don't mean anything, and that I only say that because I have so many of them. I've accomplished it, and then just like in drag racing, right? You run the time, it's not official till you back it up.
Right.
And I feel like I backed it up with the Lexus, right? Maybe not as much as,
Well,
as
I think
the Civic, but
I think that you were just like, all right, if I wanted to do it, I could. You know, like you're like, I did this. You know, I did audio from one of the best guys in the game, and no, this is a plug for myself. I'm not as he is. I'm a little more extra. Anyway,
I mean, even when you build my systems, when you're done and you give it back to me, we come right back and I'm like, I don't like this.
Right.
And we argue
right,
over whether we're gonna change it or not. And I'm like, yo, at the end of the day, I'm the customer.
right, not really.
I think we come to a nice medium.
Understanding, right.
But the point is, it changed because I didn't like it.
Right.
Right.
Would change, but we, you know, sometimes in that change for, you know, we talk about the Lexus. We'll show a picture here, Harry's Lexus. Is we were able to try, there's stuff in your Lexus that you don't even realize it's so difficult to do. Like the gradation of the Sony from one side to the other. Mm-hmm. You know how impossible that is? Like,
and you know what? People don't even see that.
Right.
The crazy part is people don't even see that. So I even bought an LED light to kind of show it.
Yeah.
But they don't realize that the engraving is different
heights.
level.
Yeah.
Right. Different heights. Right.
So it gradates as it goes along.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of, again, this is not about you, but that kind of thought process is, I know Harry, and I know that like this car has bride seats, and I'm not gonna put bride in the back of this car like we wanted to originally. I was like, let me try to do something that draws the inside of the car into the back, right? A talking point where, well, you see how the bride seat has the gradation? Well, bride doesn't make car stereo parts, but Sony does. So how can we make the Sony? You know what I mean? That was kind of the idea.
And it's cool too because it's like not only is it a talking point, but like when you look at it, you know, again, you don't realize it until someone mentions it, right? And it's like, oh wow, right? Like who would think of that? And it's like, that's the team I work with, right? Like that's
right.
the build team, right?
Right. Right. So I got a question for you. We did the past. We got the Civic, the present. Let's call it the Lexus. We have a build for the future.
So the cost of everything is way more now, way more than when I built the Civic, and definitely way more than when I built the Lexus. Mm-hmm. I think what I'm gonna do is, you know, my son, who has been on this, let me kind of backtrack a little bit here. I don't mean to take up all the time, but when I brought this Civic back out, it was great because not only did I kind of feel retribution, I don't know, like, the first time I took it down and retired it, I didn't feel it was time yet.
You were hurt.
I was very hurt.
You were hurt. I remember you telling that story. We're not going to get too far into that. You were hurt.
But then this time when I brought it back out, it's like the farewell tour, right? And it's getting.
I don't think so. I mean, the difference between when you took it down, right, and then when it came back out, is because when you took it down, it had run its course, right? We agree on build language, right? So now, since it's not so prevalent, it can go on forever. I don't think there's a stopping point for this car at its current spot, you know? I think
that's a different story for a different day.
Of course, but I'll just say this. I think the hardest thing about that car is keeping it what it is, right?
Yeah.
I know you're doing some stuff now that are changing it, right? But keeping it the way it is and keeping the design language and keeping the time.
So the design, yes, that is the part that I'm struggling with right now. But what I'm doing right now, I think it's paying tribute to the era.
To new era.
It's gonna be a mix. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we agree, where, we have to, no pun intended, tap into our roots when we're building. Like, things that we thought were cool back then that we never let go of. Like, we let go of fucking...
A lot. Again, like the displays, right?
Like we let go.
Like, right. But
did we? Because what we talked about yesterday. You know what I mean? Like,
they'll see, right? Because that was when I started in motion. That was my thing, right? Because that's something Absolute never did. You guys were always in the booth. You guys were always vendor cars, Maguire's, Toyo.
we had some displays,
basic
but-
early stuff, but then you guys
Yeah.
stopped. But I mean, I ended up using ramps. Like,
Yeah,
I was
I
using
mean, there
ramps
was a
every
lot
which
of
way.
there was a lot of things that we didn't even have. Like
Yeah.
we didn't have race ramps like we have now. That was another thing.
So
yeah, you're right.
But what I was gonna get back with the Civic is that when I brought it back out, I felt like it was a great farewell tour, right? That's why I tried to hit every city that I could last year. But what I didn't expect on that journey was my son, right? When I built this car, I didn't have no family. Like, I didn't have kids, I didn't have a wife, right? So all that was for me, right? Every accolade I won was for me. And so, you know, my son would see the car and be like, right? Like, and ask me, Dad, well, you know, what was it like? You know, because he sees the trophies, I have them in the garage. Dad, what was it like to win? Right? And what I didn't expect was, now that I'm bringing him to the shows with me, and OG1 is winning these specialty awards, like, instead of me explaining it to him, I registered the car under his name.
Right.
And
Give him that.
now he gets to experience that.
Right.
And so, to answer your question, what's my next build? My next build is whatever Kobe wants to build.
80, 86 it is.
It's probably gonna be 86.
Yeah. Well, I think we're gonna start getting the plan together for that. We have a few years yet to get that car together.
Yeah, it might just be another Type R. I mean, or not another Type R. It might be a Type R, whatever Type R is out at that point. But who knows, right? I think one thing that you brought out before was how ironic is it that my Civic ended up having IS 300 or Altezza taillights, and then my next build was a
IS.
was an IS, right?
Right.
So, you know, because I've done the wild, crazy build and I've done the mild build, which, you know, again, as a car competitor, I think a shelf life of a car is probably about 5 years before you gotta redo.
Free do, right.
Right? So this rendition of the Lexus is not my favorite. I kind of like the one I had before where it was just the Vertex lip kit and the SSR wheels.
Yeah.
And I did this to kind of keep up with the Joneses.
Tied you over.
Yeah.
I think the car just needs, just paint. I just think it needs a different color.
So, yeah. So I was gonna do that, but then my wife, when I was deciding like, oh, what color am I gonna do, my wife then told me that she was pregnant with their second child.
Jenna.
Yeah. So
Shout out to Jenna.
So at that
My
point,
heart. I love that little girl.
at that point, I was like, do I be financially responsible, or do I just go all in and finish this car and
Family first.
Yeah, so that's the older version of me.
Right.
I saved that money and didn't change the color. But again, I'm always driving that car, the Lexus, and I always see it at the car show with the tires, you know, the tire stands and everything. But from what everyone else tells me, when that car is rolling on the street, it looks totally different. And someone was actually able to send me a rolling shot not too long ago. I'm like, yo.
I'm still gonna say paint. You can't unconvince me.
You're absolutely right. I think that's why I use paint.
Yellow would be cool.
Nah, man. I wouldn't do yellow.
Look at all these famous yellow cars, bro.
Look at all the famous red cars. None of them that are here, but you know.
Oh, red's not a bad.
Yeah.
You know,
I wouldn't do that car in red. I'll probably do that car in a teal, metallic teal or something like that. So match the
Interesting.
brakes. You know?
So we already have our next guest picked out. It's gonna be a special dude. Loud man.
I don't even want to ruin it, man. I don't even ruin it. But again, the next episode will be, you know,
the future.
Well, he's gonna watch this, and then we'll spend the first part getting his response, and then we'll talk about the future, right? So he's been very vocal. He's a very vocal guy. Actually, it's great to have him as our first guest, right?
I mean, technically they were our guests, but yeah, it's kind of. I think it's important because he does have an opinion, and he's going to talk about it, you know, whether we agree or not.
Yeah.
So
absolutely. And then I think, you know, be on the lookout for us at car shows. We're gonna start doing some build interviews. Like
Yeah, but we don't want to
quick-
know about the build. We want to know about the story.
Yeah, so be on the lookout for it. So if you have an interesting story, like, again, I don't want to, don't spec out the car for me. Give me the highlights, and then tell me about why you built that car. So we'll do that, and then right now our episodes are supposed to debut on the 1st of every month. Is that what?
Is it the first week? First Wednesday. What is it, Wednesday or Thursday?
I thought it was the first. Anyways, the first week of the month, right? So we'll run these mini interviews on weeks 2, 3, and 4, and then go back into our episodes, right? So we obviously need content. So again, if you see us at an event, please pull us over. We want to hear what you got to say. Again, we built this platform for show guys. So
yeah. So guys, I want to touch on this. I'm going to do it very gently. We have a lot of respect. I have a lot of respect for builds and money and time of all these cars. I think it's important to say that maybe sometimes I am not as enthusiastic about some builds as I am others. And that's okay. I can take the criticism. I can take it if you don't like my paint color. I can take it. I can take it. What you'll never see is us do things to guys on our videos that's going to make you feel like you regret doing it. So I'm gonna just tell you guys right now, there are other podcasts and other types of shows that take pride in roasting cars. Like Harry did that record.
and
he apologized for it.
No, I apologize for it, but
You realized what it was.
I
right?
realized what it was, and now
Right. So I want you guys to be free and open to talk to us and to come. You thought I was going to say something different. Be free and different to talk to us about those things, because I really think it's important to give. We don't have print media the same way we did, and I want our platform to be a place where you want your car to be, like you would in a super street or an import tuner that are now long gone.
I mean, this is print now, right? Like this is how
YouTube
you get
is
it,
print,
right?
right?
Yeah, YouTube is print now, so
We use print. So
that's the future.
all right, well it concludes. This is the 3rd episode, man. You guys gotta give Harry a shout out because he really works hard. I just show up and I'm good at just showing up. You know what I mean? But Harry puts a lot of work into all this stuff. So
Not just me, because we do this, and then Gary
yes, Gary
does all the hard work
Yes.
to make sure that we meet these deadlines. So thank you, Gary. Actually, one last thing. So in Harrisburg, while you were out to lunch, I get it, you're hungry. When you're hungry, you're hungry.
Listen, if you see me at a show and I'm beelining for food, you probably should talk to me.
But at the last show, we gave subscribers a free gift.
Subscribe.
Right? So please subscribe. Every event we go to, we may or may not give away a gift, but
Be prepared.
be prepared, right? Our next event, Virginia Beach, Tuner Evo.
Tuner Evo.
Blah, blah, blah.
Bring your S2000s.
This 2000 class is really competitive right now, man.
I just want all the S2000s. Win, lose, or draw, I just want all of them to come. I think that
Actually, that's where you lost.
That's where I lost
the last one,
year,
right?
yeah.
That's where you lost the last one.
I'm calling out a yellow one. Just know I call them all out. It's okay.
Hey,
Look, it's okay to lose. Just know that, like, vengeance.
I mean, losing is part of the process.
100%.
I think that's one thing that
You learned.
I think
You
we
taught.
missed, right? We missed. I talk about it, but I can't stress it. Like, losing
Nothing
makes you better.
Stronger.
Yeah,
nothing makes you stronger than losing.
Right. Right. It's just how you lose.
So, there's one part that Ranger talked about that I really liked, and we got to end this at some point because it's just going on and on. But Ranger talked about being able to get your score sheet.
Let's save that.
Yeah, we'll save that.
Yeah.
That's a very important point that we have to.
So we have all this for them to see,
Right.
Because it's a behind-the-scenes look of each event,
Right.
We'll go over all that in the next episode because that encapsulates the recap of all that. Our guest, he'll recap that portion too. He's gonna have a lot to say, and then that's when we could talk about the future. But
I want to add one more thing because it's not over unless it's 8 hours long, right? Somebody in one of the comments said, "How do you build a show car?"
I think we do that over. I saw that too.
I love that comment.
I
just got to figure out how to do it.
We'll do it in a multi-part series. I think we do that over the winter
with the Integra.
Because
OG2, OG 0.5
cut.